fall a little short, they are in a pretty good spot to make another launch at it next year.
It just shows you how important banking wins is.
Yeah.
And neither of these two have been able to do it, but this is a game that I suppose if we looked before the season, this would have been a top flight game, and they're quite evenly matched. They've had even performances in their last 3 or 4 meetings, as you said, Matty. So should be this is definitely one that they want to continue their respective momentums over the last couple of weeks.
So the traditional build-up for the Port fans here at Adelaide Oval. Kicked 4 against Port the last time they played. He's been the story of the week. About to get underway. Port Adelaide hosting Melbourne. Port Adelaide kicking to the right of your screen. Little wind advantage in that direction as well. So Visentini and Gawn lock horns to kick us off. Bergman, a little toe poke. Burne-Jones picks it up. Grabbed by Bowie. Squirts free. Coming through Petrarca. Throws it on the boot. Wobbly one. Might be good enough though. In a 50-50 was Sparrow. Couldn't quite complete the mark. Able to pick it up though. Gets it to Oliver. Now to Gawn. Too far out to score. Throws it on the boot towards the top of the square. Fritz almost rakes it with one hand. And just through for a rush behind. Big start for Melbourne.
Well, really good start by the Demons coming through. Probably could have been a bit stiff not to get a push in the back there, but looks like Darcy Burne-Jones is going to match up on Bowie. And Viney, he looks like he's going to go head-to-head with Butters. At least they were set off the first bounce.
Kick to the wing, didn't quite work. Turner cut it off. Gave it to Cozzy. To Bowie. Windsor. Sub last week. High ball. Sparrow waits. Crowd still building here at the Adelaide Oval. Early flyers go up. Petty was the front of the pack. Had the big rise, couldn't quite pluck it. Bergman wide. Georgiades comes up to make a good mark. One-on-one with Turner, and he goes. Horne-Francis back into the lineup. He's got May chasing him. Has a bounce. He knows he's got him covered. Outstanding start, except for the fact that he hit the post. Did everything right, and then a little drift on the ball at the end. Hits the padding.
I was going to say, like, Melbourne's build-up was excellent. They were able to get their defenders right up into the front half, and it was a contest loss, Georgiades versus Turner, who we spoke about pre-game, that got Port Adelaide out the back for all but an end-to-end goal.
That's a great kick out, set up beautifully.
Bowie's long ball to Langdon, who continues with a little chip in the air. For Viney, back after an operation on a fractured hand, was able to just to get it to Petrarca, who was under pressure, and off the slingshot. Here go Port Adelaide, running through the middle, Rosie. Little chip from Butters towards Horne-Francis, sits up for him. He's got Powell Pepper to the side, ignores him, looks the centering ball towards Rioli, and also Sweet. Insufficient distance, play on was the call. No, Mark balled it up.
Geez, the ump was right there for that and had a great call on it. Jordan Sweet thought that he was going to find it.
Here's that kick out, really magical kick out. He just ran from 40 behind and nailed it.
Sweet flicked it to Bowie though. Go into Windsor. A roller out wide, race on. French, Burton, clever collect. Handball inside, just as good. Langford goes inside with the handoff to Langdon. Missed his target, Burton. Good pressure from both teams. Cozzy cuts them down. Ball. Free kick, Melbourne, and they take the advantage of that one. The umpire virtually said, "You better." I've called it.
Fritz was on his own and steadily kicks it towards Melcham at half forward. Didn't mark it, but grabbed the football. His Looping handball only as far as Bergman, grabbed by Petrarca, and a ball up.
Guys, Bergman's going with Petrarca too, right? He was in the centre square with him, and then when Petrarca went forward, Bergman went with him.
It's a very good matchup, Roo. You don't often have players who can go to the middle and behind the ball. Plenty that go the other way, but not many that go the middle and behind.
Yeah, well, he played his best game of his career last week, highest rated game, Bergman. And he's been getting a few roles in the middle. We had Jordan Dawson a few weeks ago, so watch this one closely.
Yeah, it looks like matchups are going to dominate. You can just see their vision of Viney and Butters.
Crazy mongrel of a kick. Darcy Byrne-Jones made it okay in the end. Power Pepper on the wing, gets it from Visentini. Byrne-Jones, Bowie tries to cut him down, chips it inside, and Turner, been doing that all season. Turn defender, he's been brilliant.
Interestingly, good to see Darcy Byrne-Jones running for that receive handball, so he's not just trying to stop Bowie.
Yep.
He's prepared to put him to the sword the other way as well. Needs to keep doing that.
Turner, snatched in the air away by Gawn.
Tell you what, Matty, we've seen some doer games so far this weekend. This doesn't look like one of them. It augurs like it's going to be a slugfest.
Bowie. Kick further along the wing. Radaglia. Did he push out Melksham? Melksham thought so. Umpire didn't.
Yeah, it depends on which umpire, which day, at which time. With that little nudge to the back. Radaglia sends it a half forward. Lever from 4 deep. Got the fist on it. Put it down to Langford. Not sure he knew it was there, but it worked. To Salem had to reach it. Sin. Inside handoff. Radaglia. Sweet. That's not his forte. The razzle-dazzle. And he's taken out with a little bit of help from Langford. And here comes the debutant.
It's a great story.
There's not many firsts left in the game, is there?
No, that's true.
I've seen that.
Nearly 2 weeks ago, air conditioning technician, now a footballer in the AFL. It's a great story. Kick for the D's inside 50. Melksham off hands. Langdon looking for the first goal. Round the corner. He's got plenty of class.
He's not celebrating.
Might have been touched, I think.
It's already been called. It's a great asset to have, to be able to use a player at a certain role.
Yep.
And, he's a run with and he's tagging and he did a great job last week. Now let's take you back to your primary role. Run up and down the wing, find the ball 30 times for us and hit the scoreboard.
Sin puts it in Liddy's direction. He competed. Viney back into the lineup. Goes to Langford across the face a little. And nice bit of judgment as well. So we'll keep an eye on this double teaming of Max Quite 50. And Melksham should know the rule by now as to you've got to come back to the 9 where the top of the square is. But the double teaming of Max, he's had a few touches already. The handoff from Zerk Thatcher. And now the short pass to Richards, who takes it on the wing.
Yeah, both clubs are moving the ball really well so far.
Wine's got it up. Bergman just pulled the kick late. Hands to the pocket. Nicely delivered to Georgiades. And this is kind of his spot.
Well, he's got to nail this one. They deserve this one, Port Adelaide. Haven't got a goal, but on the back of a 50, their transition of the ball was first class. And I'll tell you what, Dwayne, if they can play this well with the flu, they'd be awesome with the other flu.
Well, apparently Travis Boak didn't get up because of the flu. Alir had a little dose of it, and Ken Hinkley had a dose of it as well. Georgiades for the first for Port. Squeezed it home.
We're talking about doses. Port Adelaide, as a club, overdose on running halfback flankers. We saw Farrell involved in that. And then the square-up pass, which was excellent. Yasin, we know, who's played in that role. Evans, Williams, Moraes, not getting a game today, but they really value that. And that obviously comes from the coaching. And to get that bounce off the back, when they get it going, they look as damaging as any team.
Well, that was a kick that set it all up, and well, that's a brilliant kick inside forward 50.
And of course, Bergman, who's been recast as probably a wingman, defender recast as a wingman, now as a midfielder. That run with Roland Petrarca, to get involved in a play like that, to be able to set up a direct goal assist. It asks the question of Christian Petrarca's defensive work rate.
26 goals this year for Mitch Georgiades, having a good year. Pickett round the corner to Oliver. Pickett wants the drive-by. Oliver drills it down the line, chopped off by Radaglia. So Farrell zags and then goes across the face of goal. Burgoyne out towards Rioli. He might have kicked this off the side of the boot. He has. It's out of bounds on the full, so a chance for the D's.
Well, you're talking about half-back flanks. I reckon Connor Rosie's getting run with Clayton Oliver too.
Pickett to Van Rooyen. He's the guy they need in form, Van Rooyen. They can get him to start showing the promise. He's shown on a few occasions. This is game 49 for Jacob Van Rooyen under the old Kevin Chitty rule. Your apprenticeship is over at game 50. And Aaron Cadman had a breakout game with 5 goals and a Mark of the Week contender for the Giants yesterday in game 49. And Jacob Van Rooyen makes something of this last half of the season. Good start for this contest for Van Rooyen.
It's a great finish. To be able to take your chances, and as a tall forward, it's the toughest position in the game. There's no doubt about it. To be a marking tall forward, a key forward who needs to play impacts and be a constant target for midfielders who may or may not have time to deliver it it's a tough ask, and he's shown some good form at times. He struggled through the early season this year, but it's always good to get a goal on the board early when you get your first crack at it.
Well, it makes a big difference to Melbourne because they've been torched coming out of the back line when they've kicked the ball in poorly last week against Collingwood, this week early against Port Adelaide. But, gee, they're doing a hell of a lot right. They're dominating clearance. Port Adelaide haven't won a clearance just yet. They're slightly up on contested possessions. In fact, they're well up now at 14-9. So doing a lot right, Melbourne. Big handball receives at the present time, running hard. 30
goals last year, Van Rooyen, 5 so far this year. Bergman over the top to Sweet. Too hot for Richards, but it sits up for him. Spreads it to Rioli. Pal Pepper calling for it. Doesn't look at the sticks yet. Wants the centering handball. Gave it to Rioli. Threw him under the bus. Grabbed by 2. Turner grabbed in the end. Ball it up.
Having a left foot helps. There's pressure. There's a lot of pressure that comes to pass at a forward 50, but trying to get back onto your right foot there, and even those couple of steps alone, great pressure from Melbourne to be able to close that down.
He didn't even have a 35-minute get-out kick there on his opposite side as Pickett was picked off. Got a handball out. Rosie bangs it inside 50. May playing in front, position A. A big match-up that. May and Horne-Francis at the moment head-to-head. Salem out wide. Langford having a great first season. To Chandler, South Australian back home. Holds it up, does the Prince Alfred College graduate.
Called to play on, gave it to Fritz. To full forward he goes. Gets lost in the sun, somewhat to ground. Radaglia, he's grabbed. And it's a stalemate.
The Alia with matchups all over the place. Alia is playing on his man and dropping back.
Yeah.
And the Melbourne player that he plays on is the spare midfielder who's playing on Alia and then going up. So they've basically got a loose man Melbourne around the midfield and Alia's dropping in behind the ball.
And that's what is going to have to be front of mind for Melbourne coming inside that forward 50. Dominating clearances and getting it inside forward 50. More so than Port at the present time.
Pickett steals it away, gets a second chance. Well, he's been the talk of the town, Pickett. The money man shows his worth early.
Yeah, it's worth a few dollars being able to hit the scoreboard out of the midfield, and he was the last one that passed. He was a direct goal assist to Van Rooyen and now finishes with his own goal. So
he's got a mate to thank, though. Have a look at this little tap on. He comes charging through. There's a smother and then a little tap from Melchin. He does a lot of things, Melksham, that go unrecognised. This was one of them.
He's one of those teammates that makes you walk taller when you're on the field. He's a team-orientated, selfless player. He's on Radaglia at the moment, so potentially not a direct matchup, but the deepest forward to create opportunities. If Aaliyah lights up, I'd see Melksham maybe going to him a little bit later.
Melbourne's leading goal kickers there for this year. Cosy Pickett, a local as well. Grew up wearing the black and white for a while at Port Districts and Largs. Port Lincoln as well. So a warning in the middle for 6, 6 and 6.
Well, the tag on Butters is working particularly well. He's had just one touch to this point. So Viney is getting the job done.
So Port Adelaide with another number one ruck, in essence, sweet against Van Roy in the second ruck for Melbourne. We'll see if this double teaming works in this instance. Burgoyne got there, caught by Chandler, dispossessed. Oliver, that was slick. Viney, good to have him back. Kick not so good, cut off by Radaglia.
Talked about that in the pre-game, Jared, the inside 50 kicking, and he was never in it, that kick there, so by Viney, poor disposal.
No, it just kills a magnificent centre clear. It should have been a goal, bottom line.
Sin receiving that aggressive kick across the face out to Mead. Then Mead's going to give ground to Farrell.
They have scored 5 times from 9 entries, so that's not a bad return in terms of getting scores on the board, but just 2 of those being goals.
He's trying to open up the fat side of the ground here as Radaglia kicks to a contest on the flank. Van Rooyen held his spot to Chandler by hands. Rivers over the top. Salem hoping for Van Rooyen. Handball wasn't good enough though. Fritz comes up to mop up. He's taken, he got rid of it. Rivers harassed by Sweet. Coming through was Wines. Wines quick ball, Burgoyne. And then it was Liddy, first involvement for the debutant. Here they go through Horne-Francis at half forward. Horne-Francis towards the pocket. Georgiades again. Same spot as where he kicked the first goal from.
Such a dangerous matchup, Georgiades. He's obviously had his injuries over the time. He's a great aerial threat. We've seen him with the Mark of the Year contenders consistently, but as his career has gone on, he just keeps finding himself to the deepest forward, gets in behind his direct opponent, times his leads very well, and service there by Horne-Francis.
So if anything, the breeze just at his back here. Looking for his second goal. Georgiades comes in, and this time glances it to the right.
That is a bit of a waste. I'm interested in your thoughts on Jason Horne-Francis. Bucks, he seems to me to have one of the highest IQs in the game. Really makes a bad choice.
Yeah, I think he just knows innately where he is on the footy field and what's required. And the IQ element is something that definitely looks like it's natural to him.
Cosy Pickett's got it as well. To Rivers, the IQ and the share, and I'm talking about Langdon takes off through the middle, blasts it along. Fritsch in position A, used his body, his palm, got it down to Petty, wasn't on the same page, and they can rush a defensive behind and get out of it, Port Adelaide.
Gee, you would have got long odds about this happening this far into the game. The hit-outs are 8-0 in favour of Port Adelaide.
Yeah, but the clearances are the reverse.
Exactly.
That was either really well done by Ryan Burton or really poorly done by Bailey Fisher. Can't work it out. The kick was pretty good. You're going to score a goal 9 times out of 10 with that entry.
Yep.
Just weren't able to get it done.
Wines to Mead. Spreads it wide to Sweet. Plays on. Then the kick even wider towards Powell. Pepper had to go the defensive fist in the end on Turner, who's a bit proppy, picking himself up. That was hit with interest.
I reckon he's holding the top of his left hip here to look for the contact. Powell Pepper's hip himself goes into Daniel Turner's lower rib cage or above his left hip there.
Oh, yeah.
He was reaching for that immediately going down. I reckon there wouldn't be many players that would feel more solid than Sam Powell-Pepper when he hits you.
So Turner's up. That's what we can like about it now. He's not laughing himself, and it's almost 17 on 18 right now. Turner shaken, but hopefully not too stirred. Oliver about to get it. Burgoyne's got him. Got a handball away. Salem got it back from Langford. Oliver a wobbler. Petty beaten. Sin got a fist on it. Knocked it down to the Horner. On Francis. Burton just out of the reach of Butters, who had to go and get it. Fans it wide. It's all work. Nicely worked around to Mead. He holds it up and waits for the cavalry.
Elliott. True centre wing. Kick to half forwards. Up they go. Gawn at the back. Just couldn't quite chest it. May. And through Howes. Along the wing. Back to Elliott. Back where they started. So Port massaging it around. Comes back into Farrell. And he's going to switch play here. Couple of options, including Sin. And Sin's got a man in isolation in Burgoyne. Little chip to Horn Francis.
There's a little bit of left to right with the wind here, so if Jason just kicks it just inside the left-hand post, it should be fine.
We just saw that kick from Howes that was intercepted by Elliott. There's only been 6 front half turnovers between these sides. Port Adelaide have had 4, Melbourne 2, so ball going end to end quite a bit early.
As Roo mentioned, previous kick from Georgiades, just glance left to right. Horn Francis, is he going to work with the breeze? Starts at the right goalpost and does glance around to just miss.
What about the sound of boot beating ball?
It was out of the middle. Drew said earlier in the game, you just got to kick it a couple of metres inside that right goalpost at that end, and as always, he's on the money here.
Well, that's why he's the man. Little chip kick wide from May, just in front of that Mark Rasciuto stand in the back pocket there.
It's always empty at Port games.
No, it's good to have it right next to the Mark Williams and Foss Williams stand, of course. Foss Williams stand up there, Mark Williams in the house. Port Adelaide's greatest ever coach, if you're counting a premiership amongst it, as part of the Melbourne coaching team, of course, today. Aaliyah breaks away from a couple of attempted tacklers to Richards. Heads out wide to Powell Pepper, puts his skates on, gets it on the wing. Didn't like what he had forward, so he went back to Butters.
They work through the middle. Butters receives the 1-2, kept it low inside 50. Gawn almost cut it off. Isn't Teeny? Horn Francis lines them up, chips at the ball, tries to work it around, but this time misses to the left.
Next one will go in the middle.
Yeah, back from a little bit of a hamstring injury, Jason Horn Francis. Viney back from concussion, the hand injury. That's why he's wearing a glove. So that's short. Well short of May, and Darcy Byrne-Jones can have a shot from the kick-in.
About 5 minutes this for Melbourne. They have lost their control of the ball. A lot of fumbles going inside forward 50. Max Gawn drops a mark he should have taken. And then this shocker, this young bloke's had a fantastic season, but not sure whether the sun was in his eyes, but he just miscued.
Darcy Byrne-Jones. This within his repertoire. He's kicked some big goals over time, and he's gone to score on the last couple. Brilliant. And the crowd rise in every grandstand here, not just in the Mark Rasciuto stand. Bright sunshine, perfect day to come to the footy and watch Port Adelaide and Melbourne, two teams that are essentially playing an elimination final this afternoon.
As you said, Jared, Melbourne had moved the ball really well from their back 50, from their defensive mid through, and we've seen a lot of up and back, end-to-end play, but just the 3 turnovers in their back half in the first 20-odd minutes, and in the last 3 or 4 we've seen 2. Yeah, that was a really poor kick. When you've got time at a kick in, you really want to be able to hit that target and not be giving goals away.
There's a heap of Port fans in the Mark Rasciuto stand next to the great Foss Williams stand, and Mark Williams, 380 games as a player overall with his clubs and 273 as the coach of Port Adelaide. He's working the bench for Melbourne today.
So all square with 5 minutes to go in the first term. Gawn won it narrowly. Burgoyne taken off it by Viney. And it bobbles around. Oliver's trying to work it out. Of course, starting subs today, Hugh Jackson for Port Adelaide and Xavier Lindsay for Melbourne. Working hard in there. Aaliyah trying to snatch it away. Drew goes in also. And it's going to be a ball up.
physio's having a look at Ollie Wines at the moment. He looks a bit sore on that knee or shin area.
Yeah, thanks, Roo. We'll keep an eye on that as well. Byzantini and Gorn. Floater to the pocket. Milksham, that was clever. A little deft deflection as well, as Jared mentioned. He's got high footy IQ, as has Butters and Rosie. They combine to Drew. Little tap on the Horn Francis. That was delightful. Short, Letty put his body on the line there. Turns and goes. Inside to Drew. Now Burgoyne. Richards. Great build-up. Can they get it inside 50 for a mark? They can. And Bergman's well within his range.
He's doing well, Bergman. He's at that role on Petrarca. Petrarca's only had the 2 disposals. This one coming up for number 5 for Bergman. Could be first goal.
And he's really growing as a player. Yet to play his 100th game. That'll come up in a few weeks' time. But he's having an outstanding year. They lost Houston in the off-season. But he and Kane Farrell have stepped up. And he has launched that. Distance not a worry. Smiles Bergman. Puts it through.
Well, Bucks, if I have the time again, I'm coming back with one of those leg sweeps because Liddy's kicking has been absolutely magnificent. It started off with a little chip and it ended up with Bergman. And there it is. That's the first one that set it up. You can see Bergman on the charge here. They're just moving the ball really well, coming off a half-back line, and Bergman is just getting a taste for it. He's running hard into space, and he's a brilliant finisher. And he too will be on a big contract this time next year.
Yeah, I like him as a player. He started as that third defender, tall defender himself with some aerial threat and some legs up on the wing, and now has been given that chance through the midfield. And the accountable roles in the midfield are great roles to play because you know that if you run hard enough, you're going to be able to find the ball the other way.
Well, they're doing that well, aren't they?
Third goal for the year for Bergman. And the umpire's going to want that one back.
Possibly pressing a bit high at the present time, Melbourne, all on the charge and leaving space behind for the turnover.
Slapped down in the Bergman direction. Rivers, quick hands. Viney hurried one towards the top of the square. Turk Thatcher went in with the fist. Fell to Farrell. Under a little bit of pressure, Burton. Then just with the dump kick. Back with the flight of the ball. Pickett's dangerous here. Pickett centering ball. Got on with it quickly. Very good in the air.
He's having a fantastic game so far. Got out of jail there. And Burton just goes to show you the penalty you pay when you fumble. And he had to hack the ball around the corner. That should have been a goal coming back the other way. But it was no reason for the fumble. One-handed take. Ball goes to the deck.
There's also no need for Pickett to kick it so quickly. He had plenty of time to steady.
So a Lear's kick taken by Sweet.
It was almost as if Pickett was hitting a spot that he was told to hit, or they have been told to hit as a preordained plan. Rioli's clever. Pickett goes back to mop his mess up. Pick the pocket of Georgiades. McVie down the line. Fritz hammered. Rosie spanks it out of play in front of the Port bench with Horn Francis about to come back on. Ken Hinkley, 13th and final season as coach. Longest serving Port Adelaide coach. Longest serving current coach without a grand final as well. And still a chance to play finals if they win this one this afternoon.
Langford, quick hands. Fritz back to Langford. Tight roving the boundary. And then that's not a bad kick. Van Rooyen with a little bit of air time as well. Melbourne building. Kick towards the pocket for the D's. Petrarca coming through. Farrell and diffuses.
Seems to me like the Melbourne players are really keen to roll on from attacking mid, which is a great intent to try and get it in there for your forwards, but they're probably just a breath too fast. They need to let their forwards lengthen and then tick lead back at them, and there'd be some easy hit-ups there because they are running hard away from the kicker towards goal, but it's just half a beat just to be able to connect.
Gone to Langdon, and he couldn't get that to bend as much as he would have liked. Zick Thatcher hit the post, and is he okay? And what's the umpire going to say here? Did he get a nudge? So he's been given a push into the post by Van Rooyen. We've seen that here before. I think Luke Hodge was involved in one. few years ago. But hopefully, well, he is okay. He's up to take his kick.
It's a really good point you make, Bucks. I haven't seen Melbourne hit a lead-up target for a couple of weeks. It's always over the back.
It's quite okay. Zerk Thatcher, the post is still rocking. Free kick gone.
They make him tougher now since Slim Matthews cracked 1.5 today.
So Gorn spears one towards the top of the square, off hands, could be dangerous. Burgoyne's kick off the side of the boot gives the D's another chance.
He's a really highly skilled player. That's as bad a miss as you see. You do get a lot of opposition backmen that'll run out of the D50 at Adelaide Oval and kick it out of bounds, but not often the home team.
Tough kick here for Fritz. This is going to go left to right. Oh, they straightened it up.
Kicked 3 goals last week, Fritz. And now to Lever. Lever's kick towards the top of the square. They're peppering away here. The D's at the moment. To ground it goes. Bergman, Hort Francis, Burton. And that kick is going to go out. How will the umpire see that one? Insufficient intent, and the locals don't like it.
Well, it wouldn't have mattered anyway because they can't win a clearance at this stage for Adelaide. They are just getting slaughtered.
Despite the hit-out number that Rui mentioned earlier.
Yeah, which is the freak show of this ruck double team. As Gorn's inside 50. Kick around the body should work. Van Rooyen told to go. Does go. And goes all the way home for his second.
Well, good to see Van Rooyen, who has had a bit of a struggle so far this year, get on the board early in the piece. A little bit of newfound confidence. And here's the kick that was turned around. I mean, ultimately, they're going to pay all of those, so there's no point whinging and complaining about it. It's basically last touch out. And that was a really good kick to Van Rooyen, who was thrilled to get on the board. But it's really interesting that Melbourne look like they're almost just trying to outnumber at ground level at these stoppages. Not worrying about Max hitting it to them in a pure form or sense of the hit out. Just 4 against 4. The ball hits the deck. Let's get the numbers there. And so far, if that's their strategy, it's working a treat.
First time this year that Jacob Van Rooyen's been a multiple goal kicker, so he had a solid year last year and has grown as he's gone along, but he'd be loving hitting the scoreboard early.
He knows the importance. His 2 celebrations have been full of vigour. Viney along the ground only as far as Drew, worried out of it. Butters goes in with Rosie. Butters throws his boot at it, spotted a man in Mead. But less than a minute to play in the first quarter. Drive by for Pal Pepper. Then chips one into the air looking for Horn Francis. Georgiades is there, driven into the turf by Gorn. And it was crude according to the umpire. Georgiades gets a free kick and there's a little reaction as well.
Well, he's given away a free kick, but he was involved in the last clearance as a tackle, a 2-on-1, and then he's charged into defence. And that was borderline, but just adding the extra pressure.
Georgiades pops it up to the square. They need a mark as the siren's going to sound, and they get one in Burgoyne. So Jace Burgoyne, his previous kick was a Barry basically in defence, but he has a shot at goal 20 metres out.
We're seeing this so much. The fat side wingers that go down to the goal square and they're either blocking for their tall forwards or they're getting it in the aerial contest themselves. Great to see him take that opportunity to impact early.
Plays his 50th game next week. Does Jace Burgoyne, can he break the deadlock here? Straight through the middle. Port Adelaide with some momentum at quarter time. They lead by a goal. 4-4 to 3-4. What's been an entertaining start at Adelaide Oval. Still plenty to come on Sunday Ticket. Of course, we head to the West with West Coast and Carlton coming up. That should be a very interesting battle. And, of course, the bounce for a few...
All right, there we go, folks. It's quarter time here at Adelaide Oval. We've got a fantastic game on our hands. It's Port Adelaide, though, leading the way. Kick after the siren got on that goal and the lead of the game, 4-4-28. Melbourne, 3-4-22. Hey, just want to welcome in Albert. Good to see you. Game board, shouty, Sheila, mate, cheer, mega love, shout out. Good to see you in here. Charlie, man, how you doing? He goes for the Crows. Good stuff. Crows are going all right. Tina, Shelty. Dino, check your screen again. Good. Just check your screen again quickly. It just keeps coming up with that message. I think you just need to press OK to clear it. There we go. I tell you what, let's have a look at the ladder. Where is the ladder? Oh, I didn't have that loaded up, did I? My gulai. Let's have a look at the ladder of these two teams prior to them playing today. And of course, Port Adelaide, where are you? You're down in 15th spot. 5 wins, 7 losses, sitting on 20 points. 3 games outside of the top 8. So this is a must-win for Port Adelaide. If they don't win this game, it is just lights out for the season for Port Adelaide. They need to win this to stay in the hunt. If they can win this, they'll go from 15th, jump all the way up to 10th. Can you believe it? They'll go from 15th to 10th, Port Adelaide, and looking a little bit better if they can win this game. Melbourne, however, are in the same boat as Port Adelaide. 5 wins, 8 losses, 20 points. Their percentage is still low, but if they win, they'll go from 13th to 10th. So it's a big game for both teams here, as we see. If we just turn the live ladder on, that is where it's going to be if the game had stopped now. Let's just get over and have a look at the ins and outs, because I didn't get to do this earlier. Port Adelaide, Jason Horne-Francis coming in, Jordan Sweet. Manny Liddy coming in. Jason Horne-Francis, great addition, coming back into the team for Port Adelaide. Going out, though, Jeremy Finlayson, Christian Moraes and Travis Bogue. So we've got some big outs as well. And, of course, the new player, Manny Liddy, and that is the only milestone game. His debut game today, Manny Liddy for Port Adelaide. Of course, for Melbourne, Jack Viney coming in. Great to see him back in the squad. Coltrane Tholslop going out. There we go. Let me just roll that up. Show the teams, just in case anyone wants to pause it now or watching it on replay, they can certainly have a look at that. Let's have a look at the goal scorers for the game. Of course, that didn't load up. My gosh, what's going on? There we go. All right, so we've got a few goal scorers already. And, of course, for Melbourne, we've got multiple goal scorer. Jacob Van Ruin, he's got 2. 3 kicks, 2 goals. You got to love when they kick straight. And, of course, Kaiser Pickett, pocket rocket, he's got 1 also. For Port Adelaide, just singles to Georgiades, Darcy Byrne-Jones, Burgoyne and Bergman. There are your goal scorers so far up until quarter time. Let's have a look. Harvey Langford there for Melbourne, tops the table on the disposal count with 10, 5 and 5, 2 clearances. Jason Horne-Francis best for Port Adelaide on 9. Wowee, 6 kicks, 3 handballs, 3 behinds. Tell you what, he's gone left, he's gone right. He just needs to slot one through the centre. Kaiser Pickett on 8. Great to see Kaiser Pickett up there with a few disposals with that 1 goal early, because I tell you what, he can bring Melbourne to light when he gets going. Let me just roll down here, because we are going to get back to the action in just a moment, folks. Live ladder, thanks. Hang on, Addy. I'll put that back up for you. You want to see that for free? Oh, way to go. Hit him with the high and hit him with the low. All free. Oh. All right. I tell you what, we've got a great game on here today. Both teams, well, it's a bit of an arm wrestle. Both teams looking reasonably good when they're going forward. I think both teams playing pretty good at the moment in this opening quarter. Christian Petrarca down there, just on the 2 disposals. He needs to get into the game for Melbourne. If he wants to make an impact, that is for sure. All right, there we go. Maxi Gorn, the big man, just a 5 disposals, 2 kicks, 3 handballs, 4 hit-outs. So his opposing ruckman doing a great job there. All right, there we go. Just for Addy G, I'll put the live ladder up. And, of course, that's what he wants to see. Port Adelaide in 10th at the moment because they're leading the match. Fremantle there, holding on to a 1-game lead. There we go. Percentage, they need to boost their percentage, because that's super low. That's super low. That might as well be 1 game, that percentage of, what's that, 17%. Yeah, they need some big wins over the next few weeks. Hey, all right, that's enough for me. 8th, no, I know, 8th. And it's all up to them whether they stay there or not. They need to just keep winning, and just look after their own backyard, and they'll do okay. All right, there we go. Addy Singner. All right, let's get back down to the action for the second quarter. It's Port Adelaide by 1 straight kick.
Burgoyne, Bergman, Georgiades, Byrne-Jones, the goal kickers for Port Adelaide in the first quarter. Zantini affects the tackle on Gawn. Oliver goes in, got rid of it. Gawn along the ground, just paddles it forwards. Rioli working hard. Langford momentarily. And Rioli back to Butters, scampers around with speed. Drew did really well, back to Butters, that was clever. Kick inside 50, Horne-Francis in from the side. Georgiades, May out of the pump, grabbed by the horn, it goes to ground. And a stoppage.
One thing that's evident early is when Port Adelaide go in, they don't connect. There seems to be a little bit more ground ball pressure. When Melbourne go in and it goes over the back, Port Adelaide have been able to clear it a lot more easier. So that's something that if you're the forward line coach of Melbourne, you'd want to keep an eye on.
Good smother on the Drew kick, but this is an opportunity for the flying shot from Liddy. It's across the face, and he did travel the required to Lever, who's saying that's 50. And how does Rioli not know that rule?
Yeah, that's
Well, for those that don't know it, right?
Well, you have to come back 9 metres, which is the top of the goal square. Every football, if you haven't been told that by your coach, and your coach needs a kick.
especially when you're 2 metres away from the goal square. It can be harder if you're on the pocket.
Burgoyne, Burn-Jones, hoping for Drew, cut off by Gawn. Deflects back to Burn-Jones, and a ball up.
Bergman's done the job so well on Christian Petrarca. Just the 2 touches in the first quarter, starting on the bench. I know if I only had 2 touches in the first quarter, you'd want to get into that first centre bounce and get going, but he's got a bit of think music, time to come in with some real energy.
Drew was quick there, and so too was Bergman. Got it from Drew, put it lace out to Georgiades. Just tied a little ribbon around it and floated it onto his chest like a butterfly.
Well, it's a pivotal matchup because Petrarca's on the bench and Bergman's doing this stuff. I mean, this is just a magnificent kick, and that really highlights Melbourne's issue over the last couple of weeks. It's that connection piece coming in outside of a dominant stoppage in the middle. Got to hit up a target, and he led up to the ball as against Melbourne's forwards who are high, and they're running back towards the goal.
Mitch Georgiades just coming off a 1-goal game last week. Works that back with a bit of swing through the middle. He's got a couple.
If you look at the clearance numbers now, it's we said it was plus 11. Yeah, Port Adelaide have had the first 2 or 3 of this quarter, and they've now been able to outscore Melbourne in that source. It's 2 goals to Port Adelaide, 1 goal, 3 to Melbourne. But as you said, Jared, Bergman's really enjoying his work today. He's been able to get his hands dirty and win it in and under, and we've seen him in open field transition. He's obviously covered his direct opponent in Petrarca, being able to play his role defensively, but then put his skates on and get involved in the front half to set teammates up on a couple of occasions already.
So Mitch Georgiades with the conversion. And continues that momentum from late in the first quarter. Ollie Wine still watches on. Umpire's going to have a second crack at that one. Interesting thoughts in the footy record posed by our great friend Dwayne Russell about the bounce. Should it stay or should it go? Pickett to Rivers. Round the corner towards the half-forward flank. Too strong.
Well, they need a couple of players to step up right now, Melbourne. They've just lost control of this contest. Port Adelaide are having a good run. Got the game on their terms.
Rosie receiving it from Sin, who's changed his boots at quarter time. Rosie down the line, no mark. Gawn, sweet off hands, free kick for a throw.
That was a bit of a win for Melbourne then to force Rosie down the line. They haven't been able to force that long kick from Port Adelaide through the first quarter. So, small wins.
Got a little Rioli Pickett battle going on as well. They're following each other around at the moment on the ball. So it'll be a nice battle to watch. High bomb. Manigalier with a double fister. Little toe from Bergman. Everything he does is turning out roses. Rioli, Liddy, floats it. Drew, left it. Richards bangs it. 1-on-1. Georgiades. He's mesmerising them. Turner inside out there.
And that's really interesting because Turner's not designed to be the number 1 defender. And he's playing, in effect, the fullback role at the moment on Georgiades.
Yeah.
My question is, why isn't Stephen May or Jake Lever playing that role, because they are nominally the key defender, the fullback that should be on that player.
We got Stephen May there with Horn Francis.
For his third, she made the goal umpire dance.
He hasn't been striking them that well. He's got a couple that bend in, but hasn't struck them all that well. And this looks like it could be a problem.
Some heavy work, McVie there on Richards.
Yeah.
May leaves the square, kicks to the hot spot. Gorn, Visentini, Gorn claims it. No mark, Oliver went in, was just able to get it out, but then drew off the deck cleverly, cut off again by May. Georgiades with some body contact. Gets a free kick, May. Plays on. McVie.
Yeah, you can't body check a guy in the air when he's trying to mark it. You try and spoil, but I think that was more a body check than spoil. Crowd didn't like it. Petrarca likes this. Looks inside. Had a couple of options. Hasn't seen a lot of it yet. Goes long. Petty's his man, or Van Rooyen. Scoots to the back. The ball's following Bergman, or Bergman's following it. One of the two. He gave it to Pickett. Worst possible guy to give it to. Outside of the boot was bizarre and beautiful. How's the wow factor of that?
You know you're running hot, Bucks, when you've just signed a big contract and the opposition are kicking it to you. And then he just produces what he did a couple of times last week, goals out of nowhere. It's why Melbourne supporters absolutely love this bloke. He is such a match winner. And this out of the blue, when Bergman hasn't missed a target all day, and yet Cozzy's just bamboozled him and then hit this boomerang that was just magnificent.
Yeah, no, we've wrapped up Miles Bergman, and that was definitely not his best disposal for the day. But there's this little bit of pressure in by Chandler. You've got to dispose of it a step earlier than you would otherwise anticipate. But because Pickett now has had 2 direct goals, 1 direct goal assist out of Melbourne's 4 goals, that's why you get paid the big bucks.
Special stuff. So 2 for Cozzy Pickett, joining Van Rooyen with 2. Sweet. Tackled by Van Rooyen. Standing tackle and a stoppage. So Sweet just tries to pat it to Bergman. The umpire's found a free kick and advantage paid, so the D's are off to the races. Oliver's wobbly, one inside 50. Good enough for Chandler. Here he is again. Pickett lights them up, goes for his 3rd and puts it through. And single-handedly, he's putting them back in it.
Well, he started in the centre bounce and then swapped into his forward role after the secondary stoppage. They were able to squeeze out of there so well and then be able to find Pickett on the end of it. You know, as you can see here, so Pickett's now gone to his forward role. He's lengthening out. They were able to get that midfielder in Oliver forward of the play. Now, that kick didn't need to be perfect, but it actually did draw the Port Adelaide defender towards the ball, which got Cozzy Pickett out the back. That was... goals from stoppages are awesome. Yeah. When you get them through the mid from behind centre, even better. And that was well executed by the Melbourne forwards.
Yeah, Langdon's running into the centre and going on to looked like he went on to Rosie there, and then Farrell was the player that was on Cozzy Pickett when he kicked the goal.
So Pickett back in the middle for this ball up, down to Bergman. Strikes this one a little better. It's a bullet. Top of the square. Coming out hard, taking the mark is Lever, who'll know what it's like playing here. It's his 41st game at the Adelaide Oval for Jake Lever. French, they're inspired right now at the D's. Petrarca, Oliver, the usual suspects. Salem heads out wide. Langdon gets a chance. He could go for home here if he wanted to. Unselfish, centres it. High ball, top of the square. Thumb clear, dangerous. Melksham, little flick. Rivers. Didn't hit that as he'd like to. Radaglia tries to stop the rot. Farrell. It's a high bomb. Petrarca back with the flight. Burne-Jones the other way, and it's rolled out of play.
How brave was that by Farrell, doing a torp out of the back line there? That was high risk.
Yeah, I'm not sure it was meant to be a talk. That's the problem, Roo. But Melbourne cost themselves a goal there. They had three options. The centering one wasn't the right one.
Sweet winds back on the ground. Grabbed by Petrarca. Then Oliver, and a ball up.
If we're talking about connection inside 50, Port Adelaide have taken 8 marks inside their forward 50 from their insides. Melbourne just the one.
Rivers
4 more.
Scooped it out, but it was clearly a throw and paid advantage paid. Rosie spreads it out to Burgoyne.
It's been an amazing game of momentum, though, this one, Bucks. I mean, Melbourne's got it back for after having lost it for about 10 minutes either side of the quarter-time bell.
So Burgoyne to Rosie, who goes along the line and puts Hal Pepper under the pump and makes the boundary umpire work as well. Throw it in.
It was nice to see that scoop handball caught a throw as well. Big long fist made contact with the ball, but it was had no real impact in propelling it. That might be something that the other umpires might start paying as well. I think the footy fans would like that.
Got that on the list for Greg Swan, right? It's the 14th thing.
14th, 214th. Pickett slick. Viney out wide. Good ball movement. Chandler. Wobbler. Radicalier gets back. It was a tough ball to grab the way it was wobbling, but he's having a good afternoon at the office.
Third one.
And if Petrarca doesn't know the rule, then no one knows the rule.
Well, it's obviously got to the point where the players were relying on the umpire to say back to 9 because the umpires aren't waiting for the player to be told now, and a change in that interpretation might explain the fact that we've seen 3 free kicks already given for it.
So the umpire doesn't tell players you're not allowed to push in the back. They just presume you know that.
Yep.
That's the rule. So they're not telling players back the 9 anymore because they presume Christian Petrarca would know it.
But if the players have been told for 11 weeks and
That's
you
right.
decide on the 12th week not to, you might get a bit of a...
Or maybe the umpires are going to start just umpiring on a coaching anymore, Bucks.
They say stand all the time, don't they?
They do.
Melbourne's pressure over 200 now. Port Adelaide just the 4 uncontested marks this quarter.
Quick hands Oliver, snaffled by Horn Francis. Butters out to Rosie with composure, and then Burgoyne. Burgoyne throws his slipper into it. Wobbly one in the power pepper direction. Big fist. Wine scraps for it. Goes to ground. Oliver, hot football to win at the moment. Bergman's quick hands. Liddy, power pepper. Rioli's there, tries to set himself. Mead couldn't quite control it. Dropped his lollies and charging out of defence. McVie with the 1-2 from Fritz, and the D's get away with it.
Petty into one-on-one on the wing, did well. Used his body to perfection. Collects it on the second go. So Melksham's on his own inside 50. If Petrarca can hit him, he sits it up too high. And Rosie clocked it. And now they're off. Burgoyne on the other side. That ball sat in the air for an eternity. And Connor Rosie's eyes lit up. And now Butters' eyes light up. He's got Oliver covered and he knew it. The Sam Powell Pepper. They can go coast to coast here, Port. Rioli, top of the square. Brilliant.
Oh, what a play.
Around the body, from the root to the foot. From one end to the other. Port Adelaide superb.
Yeah, what an excellent, up and back bit of play. Melbourne had it in their square all the way. That errant kick from Petrarca was, and the great work rate of Rosie to get back, and then all the way back again. The run of Butters can't be understated because he drew 2 players to him and then put Powell Pepper into open space.
They're going to get a free kick here too, Port.
Well, it's brilliantly described, Bucks. There's the work rate, but the run, it's like Boris Spassky, master chess champion. He only had a pawn left, but he still dominated. Have a look at this. He just says, right, I'll take you, Oliver, and I know I'm going to get you. Who was it, Bowie? And then sucked the handball straight out. That's what set up this the passage of play. Great mark.
So a free kick to Port Adelaide, to Georgiades for something that happened off the ball, and this might be a double whammy. He drills it off, and will investigate it. He's got 3, and suddenly Melbourne, which had all the momentum on the back foot.
He tried to miss that, but he got in there. So he's had 5 set shots. 5 marks inside 52 throughout the first half already. But you can't afford to give those up. To even give the umpire an opportunity to misread a situation to give a free kick away.
Well, there's one. Yeah, little chip off the ball.
Georgiades off camera.
Well, Georgiades most confused bloke in footy right now. He's swinging them both ways.
So a double play as Pickett picks it up, grabbed by Vizamzini, but taken high.
He got down really low to grab it.
Gee, I like a ruckman who can have a crack at it like that. He'll nail him one day.
Some feeling between Viney and Butters as well. Kick inside 50, spills free. Farrell grabbed by Sparrow. Bit of feeling starting to creep into this.
And he did it well then, Sparrow. That was borderline going to be a dump tackle, and he just pulled himself up a little bit and guided him to the ground.
And playing for keeps now. It is like an elimination final. Sin, dump, Chandler, Petty, little double clutch at it. Bends it, goal square. And he's playing a pretty good game at the moment, Radicalier. Last line of defence. Got a touch on it and fended it through.
Certainly doesn't feel like 13th v 15th, does it?
No, they're quality sides when they're up and about and got their full lists available.
So just when it looked like Melbourne had some momentum with a couple of goals from Pickett, double play down the other end, 2 goals for Port. They've got a decent buffer here. Here's Rivers, got the tunnel ball, kicked to Petrarca. He was taken high anyway.
Really good tunnel ball, as you said, by McVie. Sometimes you don't take possession. You see Collingwood all the time just knocking the ball to their advantage rather than taking a possession. And McVie that time just slotted it perfectly.
Petty and Aaliyah exchanging telephone numbers.
There's plenty of feeling out here.
So Christian Petrarca, 13 goals for the season. As you can see, it's been a 50-50 proposition. He's goal kicking this year. A much needed one on its way. And the Bronx cheers tell the story.
Not the accuracy or the distance, and he's worse than 50-50 for the year now, Christian Petrarca.
Zach Butters gave him the direction to go left.
Yeah,
he did.
I'm not sure that's where he told him to go, Gerard, but that's your assessment of where he was told to go.
I'm still waiting for one of the players to kick the coach under your instructions.
From the flick, Pickett couldn't trap it. And
on the full, was it? Not according to Tossie.
Toss it in.
And he's the main man at the moment.
Ed Langdon about to come back on. Simon Goodwin, 9th season as coach, premiership coach, trying to bounce them back inside.
Clever.
The top 8. Tap down to Mead. Now Pickett's gone down behind play.
I think that was friendly. I wasn't friendly fire, but I think it was incidental contact. But he's been able to do the free kick. Just looking at his numbers, he's the highest possession getting player on the field.
So accidental face-to-face, was it? Pickett and Butters. Crowd not happy. Pickett takes off. Top of the goal square. Big flyers go up. Port with more crummers around the bottom of the pack. Little roller to the boundary will work because Powell Pepper will accidentally tap it out. He left it in. And now it's out.
And of course, Cosy Pickett's kicked the 3 goals to match Georgiades' 3 goals. We see here, he's just...
Is that a free kick?
Well, I think there was probably forearm contact to the chin, so technically it is. Whether it was deliberate or not, maybe that doesn't matter.
Plenty in this. Gone. Chandler goes without it. Had a second opportunity. Along the ground, Butters. Chandler goes in. It's a hot potato at the moment. Horne-Francis out to Mead. Spearing pass to Wines. Hack kick towards the wing. Lever set himself. Fell short. Here's Petrarca. Spreads it wide. Then it was Windsor. He was all taped up. Radicalier a good spoil. Rosie dances around. Couldn't quite get around. Chandler got rid of it. Radicalier up against the boundary line. Chucks it back from where it came from. Georgiades in from the side. No mark from Turner. Spilt to Horne-Francis, who's elite, but he was too slow on that occasion. Back towards Wines. Georgiades, his kick was smothered by Turner. Back to Wines, then Mead. Spreads it wide. Georgiades can't quite pick it up and then stumbles it over the boundary.
Conoro's there got an eternity before.
Yeah, he did really well to hold on to it with after the first disposal. Melbourne's pressure just looks like it's increased a little bit. Like that was really good pressure there to stop Horne-Francis and Port Adelaide to be able to work through the wing. 192 to 185. We were talking about high standard games. I think high standard games stand out when there's high pressure.
Horne-Francis turns and goes. May playing in front, couldn't mark it. Powell Pepper with the fake. Clever. To Drew. To Powell Pepper. To Wines. To Powell Pepper. Down to Drew. Darcy Byrne-Jones couldn't make something of it. Turner just hammers it away in hope. Ugly kick. Had better options than that. And now to make him pay Ryan Burton.
Just great pressure from Port Adelaide inside their forward 50. Powell Pepper, he was looking for the 1-2 and then the 2-3 and went for a 3-4 but didn't quite nail it.
He's kicked 1-2 this year. It's been worse than 50-50 career as well. 25 goals, 30. Launches. It's a helicopter. And it's thumped through for a behind.
Well, we've got 8 minutes of play remaining, or just under 8 minutes of play remaining.
Count it's a free kick. Sorry, Jared.
It's got to be the best hour of footy we've seen for the weekend. It's really firing up.
Horne-Francis gets another opportunity, but just overclubs it. Gawn. So Gawn, short one to Oliver. You heard the call. Not sufficient. Kick into the middle of the ground. Radaglia had the sun in his face and everything, but he was still able to grab it. Good composure.
Yeah, Oliver was caught up. We want to move it quick. We want to get it going. But a one-step sky ball to a 1v2 is not the answer.
That's what Radaglia is coming to the ground praying for.
Farrell, Sin, Zerg Thatcher operate laterally. And then short to Burton. And they're going to switch it again. Now to Radaglia.
Have you seen the evolution of Asava, Bucks?
Well, I think he's done extremely well. I mean, he was a low possession key forward who would give you a contest inconsistently, but he's done a lot better in that back half, both at Geelong and Port.
Mead to Byrne-Jones, who drives by and then kicked to no one really in particular. Langdon had a bit of work to do. Powell Pepper's stolen it, still hasn't gone over the line and gives Port some sort of a chance.
Darcy Byrne-Jones a minute ago and then Langdon. Players don't want to lose their feet. Yeah. Sometimes you have to lose your feet to go and get the mark. Take the mark and then the game stops. If you let it bounce, you just create more trouble than it's worth.
Byzantinian Gawn down to Richards, handballed at Hope, cut off by Oliver, then Richards threw his boot at it, trundles towards the pocket, picked up by Lever, showed composure, got it to Chandler, had to beat two, got his boot to it out of bounds on the floor. Free kick Port.
Great pressure right across the ground, but in particular in the forward 50 from Port.
Horne-Francis goes inside, so Burton will get another fly at it. Same distance, same angle.
He's opposite in range there, I reckon.
Opposite corner of the square. Take some time, a deep breath. He's had a sighter. That sails, it's long, not long enough, and Gawn drops a chest mark. Howes to Salem, who somehow gets it through. Under some heat now, Melbourne.
Just looking at Radaglia at the other end of the ground, his best ever is 6 intercept marks. Well, he's already at that level, and we're not even at half time. So Melbourne are just feeding it into his sweet spot, if you like.
And that's even with Melksham on him, who's one of the best disruptors of intercept marks.
Full review of the first half on Fox. Best in the business. As Gawn takes a good grab on the flank. Switching it into the middle of the ground through Lever. And out to May. So May, next kick important. Langdon back with the flight of the ball. Knows the urgency. Thinks about a bounce. Kick towards the pockets. Out the back, Van Rooyen waits almost. Bouncing ball. Fritz and Rivers They could have raffled it in the end, taken to ground and balled it up.
That is the evolution of the Melbourne offence, though. They were up from Max Gawn's contested mark here, out to lever, out again, and the forwards had actually lengthened and got to where they needed to get to. There was a chest mark dropped in the end.
Maxi almost goes himself in the ruck. Bobbles out of his hands. Mead up against the point post. Did pretty well with a tunnel ball to Drew. That was clever. Then Sin had to take a courageous mark and did.
Plays on back to Drew, who's generating some run now. Butters hands it back. He had 10 tackles last week. Willem Drew again. It's normally his forte, but he's setting a bit of play up at the moment. Bergman floats it wide, dangerously. Rosie did brilliantly. He judged it better than Milcham, who overcommitted. The poor captain inside, back to Drew. Now Liddy. His kick not so good. To Bullock to Howes, who says, let's calm it down, boys. Let's just get our pulse rate down and work this out a little better.
Salem to Viney. You see that left miss coming back from a fractured hand. Van Rooyen lost sight of it. Still able to gather out towards Langdon. Inboard, Viney retreats to Salem. So they just massage it around half back. Eventually has to sink his boot into it. Petrarca pushed Farrell, and as that was happening, Radagalia's taken a good mark. Butters spears one to Bergman.
Cozzy Pickett's just gone down the race for Melbourne, so got no idea why, but that's where he is.
Let's hope he's okay. He's their one big hope. Wide ball, Lever gets up there, thumps it. Butters, Georgiades, Horn Francis high, Rioli's under it. And getting there, taking a good mark. Turner this time holds it up.
So, Jared, a mock is a mark from an opposition kick.
Right.
Radagalia's had 7 mocks.
He's had 7
the
mocks.
record is 10.
Yep.
So we're on mock watch second half.
I reckon Melbourne are helping their mocks a bit too, by the way they're kicking it in there.
So
I
again,
reckon Melbourne supporters will be calling us something else.
Hummels it towards Van Rooyen. Waits back again. Mead picked it up. Grabbed by Van Rooyen. And a stoppage.
But the big guns got going this term. Rosie's had 10. Horn Francis has had 9. 3 clearances. And Butters has also got himself up and about.
So Gawn fists it forward only as far as Horn Francis beats them with speed. By hand to Butters. He's going laterally. Could be dangerous. It hangs for a while. Fritz wanted it, but Sin grabbed it.
Umpire said he took a step sideways, so play on. A sizzler to Liddy. Good commitment. Central Districts. Air conditioner mechanic a week ago. Half forward, knocked away from Rioli. Bowie to mop up the mess now. Chandler caught by Rioli. Everything under pressure for Melbourne. Little chip to Fritz, that's pressure. Chop of the arms, that releases a bit of pressure. He deserved that. And Fritz wasn't given the ball back by his own man Bowie.
That's the advantage of going highest point out the front. Force that free kick from Farrell.
Dangerous kick. It was cut off by Butters, Rioli, and then Richards. Handball towards Farrell. He's got Langford for company. Clever tap towards Rioli. Then Powell Pepper spots Horn Francis.
That's just good ball movement by Port Adelaide. They're just dealing with it a little bit better. Both clubs are raising their pressure. But Port Adelaide has just coped with it a little bit better going inside the forward 50.
That's their 11th mark inside forward 50. That's a high number for just a half a footy. Melbourne have had 2.
And a decent first half. Horn Francis, can he cap it off with a goal? It's a fantastic effort. It's a goal to Horn Francis and takes the momentum into half-time for Port Adelaide.
Always a little bit of relief when you've had a few shots at goal and you haven't been able to finish. He was 0 from 3 in the first quarter. A running shot that hit the post and a couple of set shots. But, to be able to finish that one around the corner, it's just a good intercept there, either a bad pass or a good intercept. But then Farrell here, just his smart tap to Rioli, a no-look handball from Rioli to Powell Pepper, and then just lowering the eyes, a 2v1 opportunity and pick the right player.
Makes a massive difference. Butters just lunges to get his hand in, gets the turnover, and then what should have been an attacking inside 50 move from Melbourne ends up a goal to Port.
Pressure on an opposition creates your best scoring opportunities. That's why the best attacking teams are often the best pressure teams.
Warren Francis back in this week. They won without him last week. Beat the Giants in Canberra to get a bit of momentum. Melbourne were great last week but couldn't win. There's a couple of extra seconds closer to half-time.
Thank you again.
Gorn about to do the ruck work. Can they steal something late here, the D's? Sweet stole it. Hammered it to half forward. And Pepper really the only one who wanted it. Wines, spears it wide, and again, Georgiades, but it's dropped. Richards, Windsor. Georgiades tried to mop his mess up. Still in there somewhere, and the umpire will sort it out.
Yeah, that was, they don't come any easier than this. This was just a regulation on the platter kick. And Stephen May will be thrilled with that.
So Oliver, that's not going to be a mark. Burgoyne, Wines, back to Burgoyne. Right up against the boundary. Kick towards Georgiades, had two against him and gets a free kick.
Yeah, he panicked May. I think it was May, and he didn't like it, so he shoved him out.
It's going to hurt them in a couple of areas because Georgiades made a beeline for the back of Gorn here. As he was pushed, I think he go for a high mark, and he's got him square, right in the middle.
Yeah, it didn't look to be a hell of a lot of pushing in that one, but Max certainly got the knee.
Yep, it's taking the wind out of the sails of the big man. Georgiades, he's kicked three. And crucially, this is going to be on the siren as well. So Georgiades comes in literally in the shadows of the hill, and they love it on the hill. It's their ninth, and it's a good buffer now at half-time. Ken Hinkley's got plenty to be happy about. And just when Cozzy Pickett kicked a couple of goals to give Melbourne some momentum, Port have hit back hard. It's a big buffer, 4 goals.
It is, and Port Adelaide have done a really good job. The last couple of minutes of the first quarter, Burgoyne to be able to take that mark and kick the goal. They really did control that second quarter. They were able to access their forwards with speed and be able to connect with them more often than not. Georgiades has taken 4 inside 50 marks. Horn Francis has been so dangerous in the front half, 20 touches, 4 shots on goal for that goal.
Yeah, the midfield of Melbourne dominated the first quarter, in clearances in particular. Well, they got their right whack in that term. Port Adelaide got on top in all areas midfield forward.
Half-time here in bright sunshine at the Adelaide Oval. What is essentially the first elimination final of the season. The winner back in the hunt for the top 8. To tell you more about it, the crew in the studio, led by Kelly Underwood.
Thank you very much, Dwayne Russell. It's interval in the first of the Sunday ticket double headers, and it's got a bit of everything, this one, as Melbourne and Port Adelaide fight to keep a sneaky September chance alive. It's been fiery, it's been fast, and some fabulous moments. Port by 6 points at quarter time, and they've extended that out to a 24-point lead at the main break, 8-6-60 to 5-6-36. Brad Johnson, Ruby Slisher and Dermot Brereton. Ruby, I'm going to start with you because Mitch Georgiades, he's booted 4 goals, 2. He beat Turner early, and then he beat May in that last contest. So he is unstoppable up the front.
Well, they just don't have an answer for him, do they? I mean, we see that there, just his ability to outbody, and that was his one mark. He's taken outside of the inside 50. He's taken 4 inside 50s, as the commentary team said just before. But as he said, young Daniel Turner had the job on him early. He just couldn't stay with him. He's doing his body craft really early and deep in the goal square, leading hard at the footy, and the delivery to him leading out has been really brilliant as well.
So Derm, Porter's got the forward setup that they wanted.
Absolutely. And Melbourne, I don't know who actually said, let's go with this setup in the back line, but they got it completely wrong. They botched it. So if we have a look at this, I guarantee you that Mitch Georgiades would have said, what I hope for is Turner. Now, by leaving Sweet out there, Lever goes to him. By having Horn Francis in the forward line, May went to him, and they identified those two for their best two defenders. The third string defender, Turner, actually goes, well, I've got Georgiades. Georgiades goes, oh, magic, you go out there, leave me the goal square with this 27-game veteran, and he took him to town. So much in the end, the Melbourne Brains Trust went, we got this wrong, guys, we're changing it. It was so obvious. We saw that bit of footage there that they just spread May and Lever away from the action zone.
So 3 of the top 4 disposal getters on the ground, Brad Johnson, Horn Francis, Butters and Rosie. When you've got that, you know Ken Hinckley's team's humming along. What about Horn Francis? He missed an entire month of football, comes in 20 disposals in a goal.
Well, he's fresh and he's playing that way. He's got his speed and power well and truly back. You can see the separation that he creates on Stephen May. He's doing it to every direct opponent that goes to him. He's just getting 5 or 10 metres easily on them. They cannot go with him whatsoever. Looking for the 1-2 on that occasion. 3 behinds in the first quarter. Unlucky not to kick a couple. Hit the post once, just misses there, and gets his snap around the body, which we'll see here to end his first half with 1 goal, 3 and 20 disposals on return. Not a bad effort.
What about not a bad effort? Cosy Pickett picked up $12.5 million. He's a bargain. What he did in that first half, he had 14 disposals and kicked 3 goals, although a scare for Demons fans. Like, he has gone down into the rooms. As soon as we know any information, we will bring it to you, Demons fans, but enjoy these highlights.
Yeah, well, we see here just his creativity up around stoppage. There's no wonder they want him up around the centre bounce. I mean, we see his movement around the stoppages as well. This goal here that he created, just so smart. But it's his ability to just turn on a dime and really create. This one here, we weren't happy with the brain fart from Burton there, were we? Just in the goal square, sort of switched off a little bit. But no, he's just been so impressive. He's so clever. But there was one clearance from the centre bounce, Jono, where he's just got it, turned around, easy as you like, beautiful centering ball on his left, and you just go, that's why they pay him the big bucks.
Working both sides of the body, Derm. That's what I like about Cozzy's game today. Left side's been good, right side naturally he's dominating as well.
He might get done for staging too.
Yeah, he won a free kick on that occasion with Butters. Yeah.
Well, Butters might have got him.
Yeah. Well, Jack Viney went to Butters at the very first bounce, and straight away Butters just smiled and said, yep, let's go. And it has been firing.
Yeah. Let's have a look at what we talked about before the game, and that is the poor entries from Melbourne inside forward 50. I mean, that's Bailey Fritsch. He wrapped around just to get a quick handball, and he just bombs it to where the man who had the ball could have kicked it anyway. There's another one. Radical Lee's having a field day down there, and they just keep doing it. They are just so poor the way they enter forward 50. Viney on the right foot. That's not something that instills you with confidence when you're leading out. Great player, fantastic player. Once again, they're just putting it to the advantage of Radicalia and co down back. So it is the same old story. 16 inside 50s in the first quarter. I think they had 15 in the second quarter. And the connection is just awful.
When they were having wins, they were starting to use the ball short inside 450. They were hitting up Petrarca at 35, 40. They were doing that on a regular basis. Last 2 weeks, a bit more pressure in the game. They just reverted back to that long bomb, which does not work for the Melbourne Footy Club.
Well, the best connection they had was Rivers in that second quarter when he just chipped a 15-metre kick
Petrarca,
sideways.
2 disposals in the first quarter and missed a set shot in that second.
And missed the one to Melksham.
Yep.
For an easy receive 15 metres out, just floated it instead of drilling the ball.
Yep.
Goes to the length of the field in 15 seconds. Rioli kicks a goal.
Got the alarm clock set, 2:30 a.m. The boy from Brighton.
Yes.
Oscar Piastri?
Yeah, officially starts at 4.
Okay.
About 2:30 and then the race is 4. So I might just
That's
miss
why
the
I
first
asked
part.
you. You're setting the alarm before. If you want to see practice and all of that beforehand, but Oscar Piastri in action. It's the Canadian Formula One Grand Prix from 2:30.
From 2:30.
Don't miss it if you love your Formula One.
All right, half time here at Adelaide Oval. Tell you what, this is a cracking game, Manuel. This is a cracking game, Eddie G. 9-6-60, 5-6-36 Melbourne. Port Adelaide, well, I tell you what, a little bit lucky. They kicked a goal after the siren at quarter time. They kicked a goal after the siren at half time. And in this section here, Willie Rioli had the shot on goal, kicked the goal, and then there was a little bit of a discrepancy off the ball just after he kicked it. which resulted in another free kick to Georgiades, which slotted 2 goals. So they got 2 goals for the price of 1 and 2 goals after the siren, which is the 3 goals. So that is probably 18 points of difference right there. But I tell you what, it's a ring-a-ding-ding game here. I tell you what, as I was saying, 2 low sides on the ladder. But I tell you what, it's a fantastic game out there. The weather looks beautiful out there. The sun is shining. Doesn't look to be much breeze down there at Adelaide Oval. Fans enjoying this, of course, and of course, the Port Adelaide coach might survive another week or 2 with this performance, depending on the result. Maxi Gawn looks like he's having a bit of an off game today. Doesn't seem like the old Max out there. Of course, he copped a knee in the back going up from Mark, going back into the pack. Went down, had a bit of a grimace, so that wasn't good for Max. Kaiser Pickett, they said, went down to the rooms. We'll see what happens with him. He was the bright spark for Melbourne, kicking 3 goals already. But just the delivery inside the forward 50s for both teams. Melbourne sort of bombing it up, and of course they did have that one shot. Petrarca sort of lobbed it up instead of drilling it in, which could have resulted in for a goal, but it was an intercept marked by Port Adelaide, ran it out. Port Adelaide, however, I tell you what, they look dangerous every time they go in their forward 50. They're creating space. They got quite a few marks inside 50. We're going to have a look at some of the stats at the moment. But a fantastic game here. Although 24 points of difference, don't write Melbourne off just yet. Both teams still playing pretty well. Jason Horne-Francis having a ring-a-ding-ding game. I'll tell you what, he's having a cracking game for Port Adelaide. Sam Powell-Pepper doing quite well itself. But for mine, it looks like Port Adelaide slightly on top in this game, just taking away what the score is. I think Port Adelaide are certainly wanting this game. I think their link up between each other is slightly better than Melbourne, and it looks like it's Port Adelaide's game to lose from here on in after half time. Melbourne have got a little bit of work to do, but can still come back. As I said, for 2 lower teams on the ladder, this is a fantastic game. Sort of, it's even got a little bit of that finals feeling about it, which we love. As they said, great game happening today. All right, let's go and have a look at the goal scorers and the stats. All right, here we go. Have a look at this. Up to half time, Mitch Georgiades for Port Adelaide already got 4 goals too, 6 scoring shots from 9 kicks. He's having an absolute a day out today on the park. Of course, Willie Rioli with 1. Jason Horne-Francis, Darcy Byrne-Jones, Jace Burgor and Miles Bergman singles for Port Adelaide. Well, for Melbourne, there's only 2 goal scorers. Kaiser Pickett with 3, Jacob Van Ruin with 2. Now, let me just see if the commentators are back.
Let's get down to the boundary line with that 3 ground line medalists standing by.
Yeah, we'll just head back down to the ground just for a moment.
Yeah, let's have a look at some brilliant footy by Port Adelaide off the back of another poor inside 50 from the D's Bucks.
Yeah, they were able to control transition pretty well, weren't they? In this particular one where Rosie worked back initially to be able to movement much in the last couple of weeks with winter arriving, but this was brilliant.
Oh, it's been unbelievable to watch, and no surprising the 3 guns in the middle are starting to rack up the possessions.
Yeah, Jason Horne-Francis at 20. We've had Rosie 14 and Butters 16. So what's that equal?
That's 50 up at Adelaide Oval, I think.
50
and they are raising the bat.
They're going very well, Port Adelaide. Let's also have a look at Miles Bergman, who's been moved into the centre over the past month. He's got the job on Christian Petrarca in the middle, and when he goes forward, his stocks are rising. And if the rumours are true and he's heading back to Melbourne next year, the dollars will be rising as well.
Yeah, well, we said in the call, it's not often you can find a player who can go midfield and then go back. Like, there's plenty of midfield forwards in the competition now, so what Miles Bergman is showing is something that every coach will want to have in his arsenal, a player who can handle a damaging player in around stoppage, but then be able to go behind the ball with him. And Bergman has worked really hard out of clearance, and he's actually hit up Georgiades a couple of times and used his foot skills to advantage in the front half.
Yeah, they've got an amazing team now that can use the ball. Got a lot of good kickers in their team, Port Adelaide.
Yeah.
If Melbourne are going to get back into it, they're going to have to disrupt that.
Yeah, absolutely. Bergman good above his head as well. He's the full package, don't worry about that. Port Adelaide on fire down here, up by 24 points. Kelly?
Thanks very much for that, Roo. Let's go to David Zeta in the newsroom. And Zeets, the MRO officer, might be looking at one incident in particular from a fiery opening half.
Yeah, Judd McVie and Joe Richards, this is a really interesting one to see how this plays out. So Judd McVie collided with Joe Richards, and there was obviously, he went to ground. And the question is, does he elect to bump here, or was he just bracing for contact to protect himself? Was he near stationary and just turning? So how much of an election to bump was there here? And even beyond that, is there forceful high contact here? So if it's yes to both of those questions, then he potentially misses a game and doesn't face the Suns in 2 weeks' time after the bye. But that's a really difficult one, I think, for the MRO, and not necessarily a suspension just to tick off just yet. Now, Zach Butters and Cozzy Pickett, there was an incident of sorts there. So Cozzy Pickett came from the ground, went into the rooms, and he was assessed. I've just been told by the Ds he had an HIA, but he has passed it and will be back out in the second half. So he is all clear. And Zach Butters, I don't expect that to be even something that comes across the table of the MRO. It was pretty fleeting and very split second, not something that really constituted a reportable offence. But the main thing for D's fans is Cozzy Pickett is okay and will be back in the second half.
We can see him on screen there, David. Thank you very much for that update. And D's fans breathing a big sigh of relief. Cozzy Pickett in with the mids there, ready to roll in the second half after an HIA.
Right, he went off for an HIA for the contact with Butters.
It seems like a bit of a delay there.
The slow motion showed his hand open and got him there and there. Why would you need to take a boy off for that?
What about this McVie one?
What's this?
Oh, actually, yeah, let's have a look at the Pickett one.
Yep. Well, it must be obviously
What's the left hand? That's the contact.
Well, and
It's got him high.
His bicep
got his face, right? So,
You reckon?
No, it did. So
Well,
therefore,
something's got his face because he's gone off for an HIA.
So what it would be the doctors then looking at that. And so the Melbourne Club of Melbourne doctors have obviously just made the call. The fact that he has gone down off a hit, and they have to react to that these days, and that's just the nature of it. I don't know.
I need to see it again because I'm looking at the hand.
The hand, but then
see this.
It does hit.
follow-up.
I don't see this.
It's not heavy, but it does. And I see the Melbourne doctors or the AFL saying he has to be checked off the back of this. So
left hand first,
and then it's just a shoulder.
I don't think you can say the left shot. You cannot tell.
I think he raises his body and he sort of gets just
You're
that
making
shoulder
up stuff.
on the
You
way.
too. You too.
Hey,
It's not reportable or anything. We're not saying that. We're just saying that there was
HIA-able.
We're going to get
Well, it
these.
is.
everyone is watching closely, and these Melbourne doctors, given what happened King's birthday last year, better to err on the side
Yeah, they
of
might be
caution.
gun shy.
Well, they've got to do what is right for their player. And so, Cozzy, the good news is Derm will be back in the second half. What about the NAB Oz kickers?
All right, there we go. I'm with Derm. I didn't see him cop at all. There we go. It was just a hand in the chest. That was about it from mine too, with the Melbourne doctors probably just overreacting a little bit there, but I suppose they've got to do what they've got to do out there, folks. All right, let's go back and have a little bit of a look at the stats. Here we go. I want to try and get some team stats up for you as well. Jason Horne-Francis. There we go. The top four, all Port Adelaide. 20 disposals, 12 kicks, 8 handballs, 2 marks, 5 marks, 2 tackles, 5 clearances, 1 goal, 3. So he's finally put that goal on the board after kicking 3 straight behind. Zach Butters going well for 16. Ryan Burton on 15. Connor Rose, 14. For Melbourne, Kaiser Pickett, to tell you what, they wouldn't want to have him off the ground. He's 14, kicking 3 goals of his 9 kicks, 5 clearances. He's having a cracker. He's kicked some, one of those is like a miracle goal he kicked. He can light and certainly bring Melbourne back into the team. Clayton Oliver, 14. Well, 6 kicks, but you know what? Probably 5 of those have gone straight to opposition. There we go. Jay Burgoyne on a 14. Radicaduli having a fantastic game there for Port Adelaide down back, taking a lot of intercept marks, doing his job down there well. And he's holding the back line up there. Absolutely fantastic for Port Adelaide. Liking the way he's playing his game today. And as we go on down, as you can see, most of the players up top are all from Port Adelaide. Harvey Langford for Melbourne on 11. Bailey Fritsch on 11. Quiet game from him, not doing a great deal. Sam Pepper in and about the action. He's with 10. Ed Langdon on 10. Ed Langdon, good to see him going about his duties. Probably gets a tag on someone today like he did on Dacos the other day and did it very, very well. Jack Viney back in the team with 9. I tell you what, Max Gawn, as I said, Max Gawn's having a real off day today from mine. Just looks like he's a bit down on his on his emotions out there today. Just the 9 touches, 16 hitouts, 2 clearances. As I said, another one for Melbourne. Christian Petrarca, just unheard of. 7 possessions in the opening half, 4 kicks, 3 handballs, 6 tackles, a clearance, but no impact at all on this game today. We certainly need to see Christian get up and about, get into this game, because Melbourne certainly need him, and they need him coming out firing in this third term, Emmanuel. All right, looking at the team stats, just want to give you a quick browse at these before we get back down to it, because I'll be back in just a minute. There we go. 51 plus. Disposal to Port Adelaide. Said they look like they're controlling the ball a lot better all the way around the ground. There we go. 36 plus kicks, 10 plus handballs, inside 50. Both teams having, both teams, there's only 3 the difference. 31 Port for 15 scoring shots, 28 for Melbourne, 11 scoring shots. So they're both getting an opportunity going inside 50. Of course, disposal efficiency around the ground, not too bad for both teams, 76, 73. Free kicks, the away side, can you believe it? The away side, 10-5, doubling Port Adelaide's free kicks. But look, it's a pretty clean type of game, which is great to see. Hit-outs, all tied up, 17 apiece. Clearances, Melbourne by 6. They're doing a good job there. And +1 in the centre clearance, stoppage clearances, +5. Port Adelaide need to get back on track with that clearance section of the game. Melbourne doing really well there. Contested possessions, both teams contesting the ball reasonably well, 62 apiece. As I was saying, Port Adelaide just controlling the ball a little bit better there, +50. Tell you what, it'd be interesting to have a look at the marks, and the marks inside 50. There we go. Just look at the marks, just about doubled Melbourne, 77-39, +38. Marks inside 50. You can see this clear as day, especially when you're watching Port Adelaide. Certainly working for themselves, their forwards. They're getting great delivery into their forwards. Their mids doing really well. Staying composed, looking for their targets well. Or just about on season average, Port Adelaide already. 10-2, Melbourne need to lift their game there. Hey, that's enough for me. Let's get back down to the action. It's Port Adelaide by 24 points. Here goes the third quarter.
With the breeze. Byzantini and Gawn. Gawn pats it down to Petrarca. Takes it with one hand, which was clever. And then Viney's kick. Inside 50. It's been grabbed by Fritz. Quick start by the D's.
Well, that helps, doesn't it? He probably grasped a couple early in the first quarter that looked like he was a chance of taking a mark. And Petrarca on Bergman there, that's a good win comparative to what we saw in the first half. And then to be able to connect outside of centre bounce. So that's their third mark inside forward 50. Like to be able to finish this and go back and continue on their merry way.
Looks like a slow start to his year, and he's just starting to find some form.
3 goals last week. Bailey Fritz for a quick fire start in this second half. And the goal umpire does not move. That's better.
He's just such an interesting player. Like, he's a difference between winning and losing, and looks to be that. Sometimes when Melbourne didn't get up on the week against Collingwood, there was a couple of moments that he could have finished, but they wouldn't have been in that position without the work that he's done.
Well, I reckon Nathan Jones, the midfield coach, would have gone to work and said, this game is swinging on clearances. We dominated in the first, we lost our way in the second. I want to get back to work, and that was just a pure centre clearance exit. But this time the big difference was they connected inside the forward 50, which they didn't do enough in the first quarter when they were dominant. And for whatever reason, it wasn't an uncontested mark, it was a contested mark, but that's okay. It was kicked to his advantage.
Looks like Disco Turner's starting forward as well. Guys, a bit of a change there.
Yeah, did it in Alice Springs as well to try and steal that game in Alice. Simon Gupon pushing Turner, who's often played as a forward in that game. He didn't win that game in Alice, but it's a good move here as Burgoyne's taken down.
2 out of 2 for Petrarca. First possessions out of the centre.
And what the observation that Rue just made, so Daniel Turner's gone forward, it means that McVie is the player that's been favoured to play on Horn Francis. He's the deepest forward for Port as he is at the moment.
And May May's gone to Georgiades.
Chandler, Langdon, and then Butters cut it off and went. Put his body in the hole, as he so often does, Zach Butters, and now Burgoyne. Gang tackle to the deck. Could start for the second half.
It's probably also a response to Radagalia's marking from Melbourne's kicks as well. So trying to find a win-win either side of the ball.
Bit of volleyball work, and then out to Chandler. Chandler kicks it as hard as he possibly can towards forward 50. Melksham and Turner working in concert there. Couldn't rake it in. Melksham got a hand to it. They fall over the top of Alia. Radaglia with the tackle over the top. Ball still in motion. And now it stops.
Alia got absolutely smashed in the marking contest, and then had three ground level contests go right over the top of him. It's a Monty Python skit.
He's still wobbling around, yes. Only a flesh wound though, Bucks, I'm told. Rosie, Burgoyne, Darcy Byrne-Jones, Sam Pepper puts it in front. Too far in front of the Hornet. Get him high, surely, McVee free. Might have been by accident, but high's high.
Some of Port's ball movement today has been as good as it has been all year, coming out of the back line.
May's kick to Fritz. Let Burton go, then came out to Bowie. Bowie, good low one to Salem. Quick movement again to Fritz. Fritz running hard for him was Langford, then dumps it. It's good enough. It wasn't pretty, but it found Gawn.
Well, Brian Burton just had to do better than that on the wing. That was a one he just needed to spoil. He came in on the wrong side. There's the push and the head clash. Dangerous all over the ground, but this is a setup. Ball one on the wing, contested ball, and Max just drifts forward and takes his opponent to full back right down where he's played too much, Bucks.
Look at Alia, guys. He's a bit proppy coming off.
So Alia running off with the trainer at the moment as Gawn steadies himself, kicks from about 35 and makes the goal umpire work.
Well, he might have missed that one, but it's positive signs for Melbourne. That's 2 marks from their inside 50s already this quarter, where they'd only taken 2 in the first half. But you know, that run through the midfield was encouraging also. So they're getting better supply already.
He's kicked 2 goals, 12 this year, Max Gawn. Not that Melbourne fans didn't know that. Melbourne's been a bit inaccurate in recent times. Butters inside, Burgoyne.
He's looking dangerous, Butters. He was curtailed early in the piece, but he's up and about now.
We're seeing some of these long-term 9-year deals get thrown up, Jared, and he's starting to think, what am I worth?
Yeah, well, I suspect that if he can keep his form up, Dwayne, he's certainly going to get one. In fact, I ran into a couple of Melbourne supporters. They thought Cossie Pickett should have got an extra 3 on his the way he was playing the first half.
Years or million?
No, just years.
Okay. Wide ball to Radaglia. He floats it wider, picking their way across half-back, Farrell. And here is the man we're talking about, Zach Butters.
He was just lurking, trying to suck the umpire in for a 50.
So ball into the centre. Rioli cut off by May. Read it better. And running through Turner. Disco throws it on the boot. Inside 50. Here's the man in question, Pickett. Couldn't quite, was worried out of it. Beaten to the punch by Sin. Sin did really well in the 50-50. Straight down the throat of McVee.
It's a big win.
Melbourne looks sharp here in this. They're defensively, they're not letting Port move through the midfield and coming back with...
Turner winds up. Long, strong, goal! Massive!
Coming back with interest is exactly what they're doing. That defensive work was excellent. Port Adelaide tried to chip it around, went from end to end for the last 2 or 3 minutes. Then we saw that win from Joshua Sin against Pickett, but Melbourne just in great shape. McVee takes that contested mark and they're back in again. So they're really controlling the transition, the way the game is played early in this third quarter. Asking a real question of Port Adelaide.
Yeah, it was the intercept mark across that half-back line. Maybe, I think Dermott was saying earlier in the piece, he thought Melbourne were pressing up too high, and that time they held, and they got the intercept from Stephen May, and it turned into a goal. But in many respects, this game has swung on clearance. And Melbourne have started this term stronger in that category like they were in the first quarter.
So Melbourne hitting back. Hit them with a couple of goals between the eyes early in the third term. Sweet won it down only as far as Petrarca. Petrarca's wobbly kick forward. How will it bounce? It suits Rivers. He was dispossessed. Handball over the top. Oliver. Gawn's calling for it. Can he kick it on the run this time? No, he can't.
Oh, gee, the big three, though, they've got to work. Petrarca's had 3 clearances himself out of the centre. Max Gawn has hit it and run and gone forward, and that was his second shot at goal, and Oliver was involved in the handball chain as well.
It's 5-1 hit-outs as well, Port Adelaide's way.
Well, Stephen May was on his front foot, ready to get up and get around Max Gawn.
Yeah, he was.
Well, a 2-13 for the year is due. Wide ball, and if he keeps pushing forward, he's going to create havoc down there. He and Cosy Pickett. The forward line's interesting for Melbourne because Simon Goodwin shuffles the same guys around on his forward line, almost like a Scrabble player, flipping around the letters on his slate till he somehow finds a really good word. And with Gawn down there, maybe he's found the word.
And there's the time to attack with Butters off the ground and Alia.
Pinballs around, winds. Liddy goes in. He's done some good things on debut. Ball it up.
We got 2 of the big 3, Butters and Horn Francis, off the ground. So Melbourne should be going to work in the middle.
Bergman trying to jump his way through the pack to no avail. There's Alia, who's had some strapping placed on him. Hugh Jackson is the sub, who hasn't been activated as yet for Port. Liddy bounces away from him. Salem happy to see it over the line. Langdon kept it in. So did Rivers. Liddy dancing his way out of trouble. Coughed it up to Fritz. Whistle as Petrarca has it. And it's going to Port for a dangerous tackle, and it's going to Liddy.
2 more metres in. Thank you.
Well, they've really been brought back to the pack by Melbourne's pressure. Haven't had an effective disposal inside their forward 50 in this term, Port Adelaide.
Just got tackled and twisted on that leg. I don't know if he's, if there's anything currently wrong with it, but gee, they tested it out there.
Good kick to Powell Pepper. He's been clean off the boot, Liddy, and then Burn Jones.
That's better.
Burn Jones, who kicked a goal from a similar spot earlier in the match, Georgiades.
Just their second inside 50 for the quarter. Melbourne have been inside theirs 6 times for 2 goals too. So it was really important, just that last 3 or 4 stoppages there, just despite the fact that Horn Francis and Butters were off, to be able to control that clearance area to stop Melbourne surge and give themselves a chance to get back on the scoreboard.
Hasn't had a bad day at the office. 4 goals to Mitch Georgiades. This not the easiest of assignments though. Acute angle 25 metres out. It's not a bad attempt. Fractionally misses.
Still got a few to go to beat his dad, who kicked 8 on debut, John. Georgiades. One of the great debuts of all time. Bergman stands his ground. Down to Max. Viney picks it up. Hard tackle on Rivers. Is it in the back? No. Burton long. Goal square. Options are plenty. Through hands. The 2 combined to mess it up. Lever goes wide. Melbourne, maybe it's work rate, maybe it's luck, maybe it's a combo of both, but they look a lot better in this second half. And Royan hands it up. And he gets himself a free.
It was a bad kick inside the forward 50 that time at the top of the square by Port.
Bowie and Howes. So Melbourne just a little bit hesitant here at the moment. Kick further afield. Melksham off his body, looking for Windsor. They just look a little bit tentative.
That off ball, they made the ground so big there, Melbourne. They'd got players right out on the fat side, tried to open up as much of that space through the midfield as they possibly could. Port Adelaide did well to defend that.
So Visentini and Gawn. Visentini double-fisted it down. Chandler hacks it inside 50. No mark. Zerk Thatcher puts their defence under the pump. And another ball up.
Edge of the seat staff at the moment. The crowd know it. They can sense it. Max Gorn goes, gets Pickett half-held as he went towards it. Horn Francis plucked it and went. Bangs it wide. Off hands, a big win. Howes tried to feed it to Windsor. Viney made it his own, feeds it out wide. Old school Viney getting some hard ball at the moment. Rivers pumps it back. Gorn's inside 50 again. Can't get the big fly at it. Huge crumb. Visentini handballed into troubled territory. Mead went to ground and he took some legs, but he took the ball at the same time.
Well, he really is no good. He's got to come off.
He is no good. And with Turner down there, the 3-on-3, it might just cut out those intercept marks. As you said, if Alir goes off, all of a sudden they'll be stretched for height.
Well, if that's the best he could do, then they're one man down there.
And I'll tell you what, I've seen Alir play just about every single game. It takes a bit for him to be sore and injured and properly.
So D's press a little here. Oliver back to Fritz, grabbed by Drew, spills free. Mead along the ground. Oliver goes in hard. It's still in motion here. Mead off the ground. That was clever. Melksham progresses it. Little tap from Petty. Picked off by Burton, and then Wines just dumps it on the boot, clearing one towards Windsor, and they can reload again, the D. So it's this all-important kick inside 50. This time it's a rifle.
Well, you want the ball in his hands. He's one of the best kicks on Melbourne's list.
Manny, can you follow Caleb out?
And that's a player that, gee, we've seen him only near the ball once. He looked horrible, but he's hanging in there.
It's not a domino they want to fall. Bergman's probably the most likely guy to go into defence. And although Pachaka's responded, he's had a great game.
So Viney, his eyes darting and ditting everywhere. Thought about the flyby, but then kicks from 52. It's on its way. Has it cleared the hands? There's going to be a review here.
Clear out, please. Come on. Yeah, please touch the ball. Make sure the ball's touched before the play. Score review. Umpire score is touched on the line.
So a close. Oh, there's Gorn right on the line, and it looks as though Alir's got his hand to it.
I can't give it to you until...
Review complete. Looking at this angle, we can see the player makes contact with the ball before it crosses the goal line. Decision on scoreboard.
Jack Viney knew he didn't have the range. They knew it wasn't a goal. So they set up quickly.
It's a great battle this between, there's so many great names in the various midfields going head to head. Cosy Pickett's the one that's dropped out of contention at the moment, hasn't a touch in this turn.
Yeah, can do some damage in a short space of time though, true.
Just wonder if he's injured as well.
Chip, G. Richards under the hammer from Viney, but he took a good grab. The handoff, Burton. Zerk Thatcher. Had Radically assured, he ignored it. Wanders into the danger zone of Fritsch.
Oh, how far?
Loops his handball long. Horn Francis has the core strength to Butters. Good man to give it to. You know he wants it back. Butters, Visentini ignores it. Thumps it long. He's got Sweet and Georgiades.
Great work. Really well covered, Jordan Sweet. I thought he butchered the last one that went deep, but he made up for it on that occasion because he just blocked some space for Georgiades. That one was a little bit lucky, but the handball was terrific. And then this bloke just really makes the wrong decision. Good handball and release.
We saw Jesse Hogan turn one on this weekend, but Georgiades is on fire. He's taken 6 marks inside, forward 50. He's kicked 4-3 and he's dropped a couple. So he's been a handful.
They had the chemistry there. Exactly spot on, as you said, Jared. And Georgiades can't complete the deal.
That's his problem at the moment. He doesn't know whether he's swinging them left or right. He needs to do some work there. They've had 13 marks inside forward 50 to this point in time. That's a huge number.
He just fell off his kick.
4 goals for him is about the lowest outcome that he could have had from the opportunities today.
2 behinds for Port in the third term. Hard ball to win on the wing.
Yeah, he could have had an 8. And it should have been a mark, could have been a free kick.
Sweet, down to Drew. Butters, round the corner. Rioli with 2 to beat, went the fist. Free kick, Melbourne.
Thank you, Stan Willie.
Lever.
Yeah, Rioli just came in with us. A little bit too much interest there for Lever.
So Lever's drop punt, plenty of D's around the fall of the ball. Petty couldn't mark it. Turner dug it in. Was he hatched over the top? Port players thought so. Langdon then throwing it on the boot. Sparrow inside 50. No marks in. Puts Port under the pump here. Farrell has to work. Fritz is hovering. Fritz got a touch to it. Farrell goes in, takes it over the boundary line. Some important pieces of play here with 7:50 left on the clock in the third term.
Melbourne's belief high at the moment. They were in good form last week, just couldn't get the job done against the best team in the competition. Van Rooyen and Sweet to do the ruck work. Horn Francis knew the contact was coming. No prior.
Just great to see so many great one-on-ones around the ball.
Drew, Viney dropped it. Butters somehow. Rosie, the Super 2 combined. Georgiades up on the wing. Ball scoots to the back. Kind bounce for Melbourne. Unkind for Georgiades. And we'll get another ball in. The last little piece of sunshine on this beautiful afternoon here in Adelaide.
Squared up the clearances now, Port Adelaide, in this turn.
Sweet ahead of Van Rooyen. Rivers fights for it hard. They go in hard. Horn Francis at the bottom of all of that.
Well, they've dropped Bergman at the present time. He's had no influence, no touch at all in this term.
So Windsor clears the congestion. Up goes Belcham. That's a good grab. Couple of bites of the cherry and a little bit of air. Then a sky ball towards the pocket. Fritz underneath. Can he mark it? No. It fell to Petty, but Fritz is going to get a free kick, and there's your reaction.
Just a little bit of a drag over the shoulder right at the end. So just down there, Bailey Fish, like all good forwards will, made a little bit more of it than there needed to be. Probably didn't lose his feet from it, but let himself go to ground and was rewarded.
So Fritz has kicked one.
Fan for that action.
He's kicked one today, Fritz. What an important kick this is. From 40, and it's not a bad attempt, it's a goal, and it's game on. Game on at Adelaide Oval. So after some hard work, they've been rewarded, the D's.
The part that Bailey Fish needs to be acknowledged for there is his ability to get all the way into the front position and then to attack the ball at its highest point. You really ask a question of your direct opponent when you're prepared to go highest point. He had his first play on the mark, dropped that, and to mine was very lucky to get that free kick. But if you put yourself in those positions, well then you ask the umpire a question. He's got to make his decision. He was able to finish in the end. That was a nice mark. That would have been what Bailey Fish was looking for. That's what
and a good handball too.
3 goals in a row for Melbourne. Aliir still on, Fritch and hobbling. Back in the middle. D's don't have the lead, but they have the momentum. Horn Francis to Drew.
It's a handball there.
Pumps it long. He's hoping for Georgiades. May. Too strong. Oh, bless it over Mick. He was too strong, Stephen May.
There was a big miss coming out of the centre. There was a handball over the top that would have just been a perfect setup. Here it is, Drew. There's the long bomb. Bypassed the player that was just over the front. And that's a wrestle-a-thon. And
you can't win by too much these days, can you?
No, and it depends on who you barrack for as to what you think of that. But the bottom line is, you now know what the umpire thought of it. And Georgiades lines up for number 5. And a massive nerve settler, not just for Port, but for Georgiades.
That was their 9th set shot between 30 and 40 metres out, and that was their 3 goal 6. So that shows you they've been wasteful at times. That was a really important kick. You know, Georgiades needed to nail that. It should be an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 finish.
Look at that handball over the top there. He just had to nail that. But nevertheless, there's the free kick. You're right. It sounded beautiful though, Bucks, off the boot. It just came out of the middle.
And sometimes they're harder to kick when you've had so many opportunities and you haven't been able to fill your boots. 5-4 is not a bad return for, towards the end of the third quarter. He's been a thorn in the Demons' defence.
Career high for Georgiades, or equal career high.
14 touches and 5 goals for. Off the ground, Drew. Progresses it forward about 45 metres, held it, bounce. It beats Salem, it beat Powell Pepper. Bowie picks it up. Round the corner he goes. Langford in a fight for it, but it was won by Wines. And then he had a fresh airy. Salem grabbed him. And over.
Did he clip the ball with his toe? He must have. Not from here. That could easily have been holding the ball. Because he's got to get his hands on it, the magic man.
Well, he's waiting for Max Gawn's palm down here. Gawn went to the front, Cossie was in the back, and I'll do it all again.
Yet to touch it this quarter. He's had the 1 tackle, but after a 14 disposal, 3 goal first half, it's a fair drop off. It has a profound impact on Melbourne's winning chances.
Simon Goodwin, 9th season as Melbourne coach, a premiership in amongst it. Ken Henley's 13th and final season. What have they got in their bag of tricks left in this? Cossie was lurking. Petrarca tried to give it to him. Viney on hands and knees. Horn Francis extracts, butters, pokes. 2 Demons around it. McVee. Nice hand off to Lever. Oliver. Will Fritz jump here? He's going to have to go. And did. Made the commitment. Took the heat and the Sherrod.
Had to take his medicine, Fritz there, and did it well. Palms it off. Langford's kick, spears one in towards Alir, couldn't mark it. Van Rooyen's there. Disco Turner picks it up. Handball Petrarca stops, props, shows a bit of class. Round the corner. It's been marked on the line.
Well, once again, it's a great mark by Sparrow. But Alir, again, he just looks like he's there just because of his height. He can't run.
So some big moments with 4 minutes to go in the third term. Sparrow opens up the angle and kicks it too thin.
Should never be skinny on those. You've got to kick it to the other side and let the ball move through the air.
This is a great handball by Daniel Turner. I reckon that one there should have gone straight to Van Rooyen running directly at goal. Christian Petrarca got the feedback and acknowledged it. But missed opportunity.
Had 2 to beat there, Stephen May. Having a good year. Had some big games. McVee, Howes, flicking it around half-back, Lever. Bowie, speaking of good years.
Well, you'd be just trying to find Alir's man. Clear it out and let Alir be the one-on-one.
Lever. So a little bit hesitant here. Stagnant at half-back. Howes. Plays on out to Bowie. And Oliver. Now Bowie. He's had a busy afternoon. This is the kick inside 50. How's the connectivity this time? Penny. So again, they get another set shot to draw closer.
They haven't taken too many marks inside forward 50, and you can see here the 2 big boys allowing both of their opponents to get behind them. Melbourne have done this all day, so they haven't learnt. And Ratugolea, he was just lost there, and Alir not even moving to get involved.
So a quiet afternoon for Harrison Petty. But that's when you kick them. It's an all-important kick, this one. And never looked likely.
Just 2 locals have let him down. Harrison Petty and Tom Sparrow, South Australians with a few family in the house for the last 2 shots.
See the doctors just run out to Aliir. Still on screen.
They have wasted 2 big chances there. Rosie toward the wing. Early flyers go up. Byzantini and Georgiades combined to spoil each other. Petrarca with a hesitation step. Couldn't quite hit the kick as he wanted to. Turned it over. All Francis gave it up. Mead heads wide. Rioli got there. Had to motor. Didn't hold it long enough. Lays a tackle. Stays in the area. Sin gets there. Feeds it back. Bergman winds. Trying to take it on. Bergman slaps it back to Sin. High ball. Melbourne have the 3. Push on Butters. Play on advantage. Pickett cut down. Brilliant tackle. Dispossessed. Farrell. Back to Aliir. He's on one leg. Farrell again. Frenetic. Chips it. Top of the square. May gets up there. Great grab. Stephen May.
That was a terrible kick by Farrell. That was absolutely set up for Stephen May, where there were 2 or 3 Port Adelaide players loose in the pocket.
So Gord
finest 2 minutes.
kicks the stuffing out of it down the line. Radagalia has given away a free kick to Van Rooyen. You saw the frustration. To Van Rooyen. Dipping ball towards 50. Taken by Turner.
So getting exposed in the one-on-ones in defence now, Port.
Over the head of Fritsch he goes. 2-on-2. Petty can't there. Fritsch, can he pick it up? Fritsch handles it well. Got it back to Oliver. No one home. Farrell was the only man standing there for Port.
It's amazing that he couldn't get any elevation on that kick. It was there for him, and sweet grab, a little bit of a run. Sam Powell-Pepper with the strength. Big Sweetie over the back. Lever gets there. Was the wrong guy to give it to. Powell-Pepper lays a hard tackle, and maybe an illegal tackle on Varney. No, his head slammed into the deck. He's back from concussion. Let's hope he's okay. And 50. Oh my goodness. The little things that are big things in our modern game. The grey area interpretations. And Sam Powell-Pepper can line up from just inside the arc. And again, grey area as to how long your 50 is. He gets a nice 50. Siren sounds. In so many ways, it's been Melbourne's quarter. And yet Port Adelaide can settle things down with a big finish to it. Sam Powell-Pepper. Port Adelaide need this win to keep their season alive, and they know it. Push and shove, few nouns and verbs. It's just as important for Melbourne as it is for Port. But you sense this one's going to go down to the wire. Melbourne not going to give this one up in a hurry.
So three-quarter time, it is Port Adelaide by 15. Don't forget, Monday night, it's Coaches Night. Ross Lyon and also Chris Scott on.
All right, three-quarter time here. Port Adelaide 11-8-74, leading the Melbourne Demons 8-11-59. I tell you what, Port Adelaide, how lucky are they, or just timing is right? Port Adelaide have kicked a goal after each siren, the 3 goals. That is pretty much the margin at the moment, 15 points. I tell you what, we're in for a fantastic final quarter. Who's going to win it? That is yet to be decided. But Port Adelaide are just doing enough to hang on to this game. They just look a little bit more cleaner with the ball, more composed. It looks like they want it a little bit more than Melbourne, yet Melbourne are hanging on in there very nicely, only 15 points away. And of course, 15 points isn't much in football. That can be changed around pretty quick. Depends on what happens. Both sides know this game, well, if they lose this game, it's pretty much lights out for their season because they'll be too far behind. The winner still there with a chance. If we just turn the live ladder on, so if we have a look, if Melbourne win, Melbourne will go up where Port Adelaide are, and if Port Adelaide win, Port Adelaide will be 10th on the ladder. There we go, 2 games out of the 8+ percentage. Still a chance at making a run for the finals. My gosh, I tell you what a classic game. This has been a really good game between Port Adelaide and Melbourne today. Really enjoyed the game, the coverage, listening to it, watching it. I tell you what, this is one of the better games we've seen all weekend, folks. One of the better games we've seen all weekend. Leading goal scorer out on the ground, Georgiades, absolutely lighting it up with 14 disposals, 12 kicks, 5 goals for his kick. Can you imagine if he had to actually kick straight, he could have been heading towards double figures. Willie Rioli, Sam Powell-Pepper, Jason Horne-Francis, Darcy Byrne-Jones, Burgoyne, Bergman, all singles for Port Adelaide. Kaiser Pickett with 3, Van Ruin 2, Fritsch 2, Daniel Turner 2. Melbourne need to do a little bit more, get a few more goal scorers coming in and not making it so obvious for the Port Adelaide defence. They just need to switch it up, as I said. 2 players that really need to lift for Melbourne in this final quarter. That's the captain. There we go. Jason Horne-Francis, 26, tops the table. Butters, 23. Rose, 21. Burton, 20. The only players in 20 are all Port Adelaide. And, of course, Clayton Oliver, best for Melbourne possession-wise, 19. Bailey Fritsch, 17. 2 goals, 1. There we go. Let's just roll down. Kaiser Pickett, well, we need him to light up in the last quarter with Petrarca. Petrarca's been super quiet. He's been well beaten today on 13. Of course, Max Gawn, he just can't seem to kick a goal. They're going left and right, and they're just not through the sticks. Well, I think they said he's kicked about 2 goals, 15 for the season. Just not good enough, Maxi, who's usually reasonably okay. 24 hitouts. Just having an off game as Maxi. So we need Petrarca, Gawn, and Pickett to really fire up in this final quarter to get Melbourne back in and a big chance in this game. But if Port Adelaide continue on the way they're going, I think Port Adelaide will actually end up running out this game winners tonight. There we go. Let me just put that back on there. Don't forget, folks, don't forget, coming up after this game, straight after this game, we've got the West Coast Carlton game over there at Optus Stadium in Perth. That's going to be an absolutely fantastic game. That's right. That's only 45 minutes away. 45 minutes away. And we're going to bring you that coverage straight after this game. So stay tuned for the next live coming up after this. West Coast taking on Carlton. Should be a fantastic game. Anyway, it is game on here at the Adelaide Oval. Port Adelaide by 15 points. Can they continue, or can Melbourne make a miracle comeback? Time will tell. All right, let's head back down to the ground for the final quarter, where it's Port Adelaide by 15 points.
As well, they could have easily been in front. They are the most inaccurate side in the competition, and the side that they play against is the most accurate side. Goal kicking might cost them another win today.
Great start for Root, and Cosy Pickett out there in the middle again with Max Gawn. He passed the HIA earlier, which is great news for Melbourne fans. So Aaliyah looks like he might be done for the evening. The 2 subs, Hugh Jackson for Port Adelaide and Xavier Lindsay for Melbourne.
What a match-up in the middle. Rosie versus Pickett could well determine this result. Pickett, one ineffective kick in the 3rd term. He's got plenty left in the tank.
Gawn out of the middle towards Petrarca, snaffled by Richards by hand, trying to get it to Butters. Petrarca by boot. Viney's in there. Quick hands Petrarca, throws it on the boot. Wobbly one, that'll do, towards the wing. Petty's there. Burton tried to trap it, grabbed by Turner. Came out. That's got to be a free kick to Port Adelaide.
Yeah, shifted a little bit. He did duck a little bit, but
stand now.
It was great work by Burton, who went to ground, but he snaffled the ball in and cleared it his way. I reckon Petrarca's just got to find some targets rather than blasting forward.
Zerk Thatcher hits in the direction of Gordon Vicentini and to the stack side of the ground. Maybe safety first. Port Adelaide with the lead. Melbourne a brilliant third term, but could not translate that to enough goals to take the lead. But they were pressing big time. Lindsay, the sub, is on. Hammered by Sparrow towards half forward. Turner's under it. And was that a free? It is. It's against Thatcher and Petty to take it from Melbourne.
So Petty gets a free kick back after losing one moments ago. Tried to get the ball to Melksham, but spoiled.
Melbourne's entries have been more directed, more lowered. We haven't seen those bomb entries that we saw in the first half, and Radagalia's gone from 7 intercept marks to 0 since half-time as a result.
So Melbourne pressing early in the last term. Vicentini and Gawn latch arms. Comes to Oliver. Oliver trying to break free. Hurried kick. Picked up by Richards. Wasn't 15, but that'll do. Rosie, what about the speed? 2 bounces. Long handball to Horne-Francis. Quick movement. Quick kick towards Sweet. Chopped off by McVie. McVie does a little ring of Rosie. And then his kick had to be good and was to Pickett. Pickett at half-back is going to go corridor. He's over-clubbed it towards Oliver. Picked up by Burton. His hurried hands to Richards. Out wide to Mead. How will it bounce? Not suitable. Picked up by Bowie. Bowie by hand along the wing. Turner. Now the D's have an opportunity through Langford. Stops props. Gathered by Turner. He was too slow. He coughed it up. Now Port have a chance.
Amazing frenetic pace. Season's on the line right now. Body's on the line. Now Pepper dragged down by Pickett. Umpires put the whistle away. Petrarca to Salem. Chandler comes down the lender hand. Bowie throws out a hand. Heads in the Gawn direction. Big Maxi! Great grab. Captain's grab. And he is off. Vicentini in his wake as he sends it along to a 2-on-2. It carries. Petty looks around. Radagalia hunts him. Got him. Still in. And the umpires decided it's on the ball up or out of play, but he's cut them all some slack there, saying you need a breather.
Well, this is a great mark from Max Gawn, and he's obviously going to push forward every time. It's something that Ken Hinkley will be concerned about, but that was weird on the boundary line.
Gawn slaps it back, knows where he is. And then Oliver from nowhere behind.
He deliberately bananaed that. It looked like he was trying to center it, but I reckon he was having a shot at goal. Geez, frenetic pace through the middle, as you see here. Petty's arm's actually free, but no prior decided by the umpires. But geez, one error through the midfield and it looks like you're gone, but then you've got to be clean because the pressure's been very high.
That was exactly the same as the one Viney got paid for and ended up giving 50 away, so it's hard to work out what they're doing to call at the moment.
Hunter's nice release kick to Horne-Francis. Back inside, they want him to take it on. Bergman spanks it long. Rioli's over the back in space. May got back and took a ripper.
He's taken 3 great marks in the second half.
And Port Adelaide are starting to do what Melbourne did in the first quarter, and that's bomb. And the bombs aren't working because Stephen May's lifting.
And Gene, the last 3 times these teams have met, the team that's led at three-quarter time has gone on to lose. Wow. Salem. He flirts with the boundary line. Radagalia just probes it forward a few metres and out.
There he is, one of the all-time greats.
And Rivers was the player that's come off for Lindsay.
Yeah, Mark Williams, the man that Jared's talking about, I presume.
Exactly.
Better look past the sub-player.
His best description Trent Rivers would have got in his career so far. As Gawn taps it down. Horne-Francis breaks 1, breaks 2. Then to Richards. Squirts it wide. Gives Rioli some work to do. Rioli, can he pat it to himself? He was under pressure and out of play.
So it looks to me, Bucks, as if Ken Hinkley said, well, I'm prepared to put Rosie in. You go with your Pickett. I'll go with Rosie. Let's see who wins.
Yeah, and Bergman's the one that's dropped out of the midfield.
Yep.
At the back of the stoppage to allow Rosie to do his work.
Everybody takes a breath. Bergman looked a little high from here.
Look at that pressure from Melbourne. They have really come out to play. That's enormous, that number. Generally, that gets you a win if you're starting at 0 each.
To Burton, to Mead, to Sin. He's got a paddock. Didn't want to use it all. He finds Bergman. He might be within range.
He's in range. He can kick this.
The crowd sensing. The crowd willing him now.
We always look at the goal scoring opportunities in the last couple of minutes, but this is a crucial shot at goal. It puts them out to a lead that's going to be really hard to get back. So, big moment.
Goals have been hard to come by for both teams. City struts. He's got plenty on it. Has he got enough? It's across the face. Max Gawn spills it though. Trouble now in paradise for Melbourne. Bowie got it from Oliver. Hammers it away. Turner playing well as a forward.
That's worked for them, this move. And Melbourne did particularly well to get that out. They just are hunting the
50.
See, Willie going through the protected zone, I think.
Doesn't know the rules, Willie.
It's a big let-off.
So Turner, who's got a decent boot on him towards the top of the square. Petty couldn't mark it. Zerk Thatcher, no one to pass it to. Petrarca weaving through. Fritsch with a chance. Coughs up another opportunity for the D's.
No, got out of jail there because I don't think Josh Sin realised that he was a left footer. He went to cover his right foot. And as everyone knows, bar Josh Sin, he's a left footer.
And as every Melbourne fan knows, inaccuracy can cost you. It's been costing teams for 150 years. Bad kicking's bad footy. Liddy, the debutant, is extremely well there. He's turned his body into Petrarca, who was coming at him.
Been a good debut.
He's 23 years of age, so he's been around a while. Central District Sandford player wearing that leg sleeve because of an injury to his leg a year ago as Giorgiani's hands were strong.
Well, that's the way to exploit Stephen May. You've got to come up at the footy.
Probing ball inside 50. No mark taken. Liddy up the ground. And they forage around and a ball up.
Huge responsibility for Petty. He's the deepest forward. Max is off the ground. Then Ryan's in the ruck.
So the ball comes out to Langford, who just skies a long ball. No mark from Sweets. Butters, terrific work. Creates a chance to kick inside 50. Rioli lost sight of it. There's going to be a whistle. That's going to Melbourne. Van Rooyen.
Vincentini keen to get back and contest there any way he could. Had a crack at trying to turn the body and have a look at the ball, but
kick along the wing towards the Fritsch direction, and also Petty. Petty couldn't drag it down. Oliver's there to help. Two-man tackle takes it to ground.
It's interesting the flip between Rosie and Bergman. Bergman's now matched up on Pickett as a half-back flanker, and Rosie is running with Petrarca through the middle. So even though both of those positions look to have worked, Rosie in the middle is what Ken Hinkley wants to see.
Wide to Bergman, who barrels it. Hard one to grab. Vincentini knocks it down in Riola's direction. It's being hunted down by Lindsay. Quick chip kick was superb. DBJ all the way.
Well, that was brilliant from Port Adelaide. Right from the word go when Ollie Wines just barged through Petrarca and got the handball away, and then it was just great football.
Yeah, I thought the territory was excellent, but then that was as fast as we've seen Willie move today. He sought the loose ball. He knew exactly where his outlets were. Wanted to get the ball in his hands as quickly as possible. They're really tough ground balls to get clean when they're running away
and spinning on
and look relatively flat. And the Port Adelaide crowd are thinking there might have been a double free kick there, but they didn't get it. But that was taken really clean. The ball's going away, and then still had the ability to balance and hit that kick.
He didn't blast away. Didn't even sniff a goal. He was just team first. Saw him. Great kick, great goal. Started with Wines, though. His bullocking work was first class.
That was the second time that Salem had let Darcy Byrne-Jones get well goal side of him, and he paid the price again.
Great buffer for Port now. Back in the middle. Rosie and Sweet and Pickett with a few choice words, and they go on to the two as Viney plays on. Little chip kick in the Sparrow direction. through his legs. Farrell through his legs. Then Viney over the top. Under pressure, Lindsay on the ground. Then Liddy taking the ground. Time right on the spot.
Great work for Melbourne here, and Jack Viney is leading the way here. Just have a look at him hunt this footy. It spins out. He grabs it, releases. It's a huge battle in the middle at the moment. That's in the back, surely.
Or is it ball? Oh, it's ball. He hatched it. According to the umpire, Langdon. What's he going to do with it here? Will he pump it to the top of the square? You bet he will. He's kicked it in high for a screamer. Or a crummer. Fritsch is the crummer, but he dropped it as he was tackled. Umpire cuts him some slack. Darcy Burn-Jones to Rosie. 2 on 2 on the wing. Rioli hassled out of it. Howes did brilliantly. Fed it back on. Windsor about to pump it back inside 50. He chips it wide. Big fist at Burgoyne. Put his heart and soul and his fist into that.
Port Adelaide just able to hold up. You get these situations in games where the opposition are making a little bit of a run at you. They get some field position, 3, 4, 5 inside 50s in a row. You need to be able to hold up.
Missed an option long there. Melcher was all by himself, but this is just a great game. So many great one-on-ones.
Spills out towards Pickett. Burgoyne interrupts. Drew. Bergman. Burgoyne. Sin. Straight back down the throat of Bowie, who sends it back towards the top of the square. Hasn't this man been good? Radaglia.
I think that's the world record. 8 now, Bucks. 8 intercept marks. That's huge.
He goes short to Burgoyne to steady the ship for Port. 11 minutes left in this.
Couple have got to lift for Melbourne there. Cossey's got to find a way to get involved.
Maxi.
He's been great.
Been great all year. Maybe on track for his 8th All-Australian. Only 6 have ever been 8-time All-Australians, and our man Mark Richuda downstairs is one of them. Nathan Buckley with us, a 7-timer. And if you count Carnival, Stuart Healy, a 9-timer. Got some superstars in the box with us. Flyers go up. Fritsch off hands, couldn't get there. Darcy Burn-Jones did. Quick fire to Rosie. Free kick to Port Adelaide. Will it be advantage play? It's Connor Rosie's ball, but it'll come back.
And Jason Horne-Francis has run off the ground, so we'll see what the latest is there with Mark Rashudo in a moment.
He's gone down the race, Hilly.
So not great news for Port fans. Jason Horne-Francis in the sheds at the moment. Connor Rosie with the free kick. Kicks to a 2-on-2. Gawn wrestles, has a fair bit of it. Fell to May. Langdon takes on his man, gets it back to Gawn. Quick hands Petrarca. Windsor up against the boundary line. Stuck it round the corner, but Bergman was all over it, filling the slot.
A lot of time to be taking off the clock still, though. Bergman punts it wide. Maxi Gawn, dangerous man to kick it to. Visentini did well, though. Got it to ground. That's all he really needs to do.
It's been good. He's shown some real endeavour as a young ruckman. You know, whether it's in the air or on the ground, and coming up against absolutely the league's best.
From the flick down, Viney had a piece of it. Gawn tried to get a kick away. Secondary go at it and got it. But here's Rosie, captain to captain.
Horne-Francis is getting his shoulder checked out, I've been told.
So Rosie just outdances Fritsch on the mark and goes short to Farrell. So Farrell, a little bit indecisive, just pumps it long. Georgiades got a fingertip to it. Lever retreats back. And a sky ball from Howes in desperation gives Fritsch a lot of work to do against 2 Port players and out.
They just seem to have bombed the ball too often, Melbourne. Like, that's no way to release it. I know he's under the pump, but that's not going to generate a score.
Simon Goodwin spoke about Collingwood's pressure last week, and we fell into that and sort of bombed the ball. You do need to be able to buffer the opposition pressure because it will have its moments, but it seems that Melbourne's still unable to take the confidence of holding the ball, maybe taking a tackle rather than bombing the ball out. And they have got some players, they're really strong-bodied players who could play that game if they wanted to.
Big Max slaps it. into Pickett territory, but well played by Farrell. Kicked it around the line, did well. It stayed in for a split second. Sam Power Pepper's eyes are like, did it, Waits? And what's that called? Push, was it?
They've got to try and open up this ground here, even if they go the long way, but down the line, long down the lines isn't getting it done for Melbourne.
And McVie does exactly that, Jared. Petrarca trying to scrap it. Zerk Thatcher off the deck, spirals it forward a little. Mead, Butters.
Great kick.
Smooth as butter to Georgiades.
That is absolute class. So Zach Butters normally goes around his body and he can go on any angle. Think Matt Suckling from the Bulldogs back, or Hawthorn back in the day. He can go on any angle, but that there was absolutely placed to a millimetre of where Georgiades wanted it. The Melbourne player had no play in it. Brilliant pass.
He got the slide rule out. That's perfect.
So Port's supporters hold their breath as Mitch Georgiades, he's kicked 5-4. No better time to bring up number 6. Back to 25 points.
Well, they've been impressive, Port Adelaide. Still got some work to do before they can claim the victory, but they are looking as if they're just about home. But this is almost a snapshot of the game. Melbourne intercepted, went long down the line. The old LDL, but it got turned over, and the other end of the ground. They have just been able to connect so much better. When there's been a contest, they get it free, and then all of a sudden, they've got themselves a target that they can hit, and they've hit it well.
That particular lead is probably the reason why Stephen May wasn't on Georgiades earlier in the game. But I suppose you've got a player that can maybe stay with him for speed, but can't get him for strength, and then a player that has him for strength but can't get him for speed, which is why he's such a difficult matchup out of the goal square.
Been promising this type of game for a while. Miss Georgiades, an all-time high. Vizentini out of the middle, goes long, goal square. Georgiades! And is that 50? This will be for number 7. 50 metres. Massive round of applause.
Well, maybe he can get him for strength as well.
Well, he gave him a nice old shove to get May out of the way.
Wonder whether
once again, the kick was superb, Root.
I wonder whether Max Gordon will go up to May and say something.
Big moment for Mitch, big moment for Port. Keep their season alive. It's a sweet 7 for Mitch Georgiades. All-time career high for him. And Port, they're not home yet, but they can see the finish line from here.
Well, they've kicked the last 5 now after Melbourne kicked the first 3 of the third quarter and looked like they had momentum and they were changing the way the game was played a little bit. Port Adelaide kicked the last 2 of the third quarter, and then amongst the arm wrestle have gone bang, bang, bang in the last 8-9 minutes. And Georgiades has been a thorn in Melbourne's side throughout the evening and just continues on his merry way.
5th in the Coleman. Of course, he's got Jeremy Cameron and Jesse Hogan to chase down.
It's a great tackle in the middle of the ground, dragging Big Max to the deck, and that was just good body work. And that wasn't such good body work.
Jason Horne-Francis reappears on the ropes.
For 50.
So Melbourne now on the ropes as Viney's grabbed by Wines.
Max, don't take from him this way, give me space.
Gawn, Oliver, Gawn. You heard the call. Bowie spreading it wide. McVie still running hard. Goes laterally out to Lindsay, who's been subbed on late. Looking for Petty. Good one. Above the shoulders. He's got Lindsay. Some fresh legs running beside him. Centering ball, Van Roy. Oh, up they go, boy. Burgoyne got some air. Fritsch, Johnny on the spot. It's going to be a free kick, though. Fritsch went on and kicked the goal, but a free kick to Port.
Well, this might be his finest game for Port Adelaide, there's the big jump. She's a bit stiffy.
Yeah.
I think it was a reasonable look.
That was realistic. We can't take that out of the game. Stop players for just jumping to marks like that. It's the best part of our game.
It might have been a hands in the back free kick, but it wasn't an unrealistic attempt.
But Curio Warwick, if you're watching for a little touch of hands in the back, that's got to allow that.
They allowed that. That should have been a mark.
We all played a long time ago.
I know. But still, that's the last thing we want out of our game, the screamer.
Agreed.
Lindsay around his body, and that's...
It was actually tipped. The reason it didn't land in his arms is it was tipped before it got there.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you're supposed to read that.
It's been a powerful display by Port Adelaide. We know the troubles they've had early in the season, but this is a really impressive win on the back of a really impressive win by Ken Hinkley and his team.
So Rosie, or Powell Pepper to flex off his boot. Virtually a kick backwards in the end. Viney out to Chandler, sold some candy, beats Wines, ran into a bit of a predicament, and Lindsay having to do a 180. Kick towards forward 50, Petty, Melksham at the back. Melksham harassed out of it by Radaglia, and then Burton's kick. Well, it was hoping for sin, it went out, and a ball in.
That was an interesting one in terms of head contact. Melksham led with the head and dived to the ground ball when Radaglia was coming in. You're going to have that incidental head contact at times.
3 home games in a row for Port. They've got Sydney here next week, and then Carlton here the week after that. So Jason Horn-Francis' fitness is going to be key if Port are going to get a run going. Darcy Byrne-Jones away. Just lifted her over heads and went to Sam Powell-Pepper. Inside to Bergman. Scoreboard on their side. Time on their side. Crowd on their side. Melbourne staring at another loss. Collingwood, St Kilda are now Port Adelaide. Huge early leap, and that was not unrealistic, but Max Gore marked it anyway. McPhee crunched. Wins himself a free.
So some loose footy in the last minute or so as Langford takes it for the D's. Windsor belting down the wing. Has a bounce, couple of players down in the background. Over the top, inside 50 to Fritsch. So Fritsch has it. Inside 50 he goes, throws everything into it and belts it into the post. It's an even 5 goals, Bucks.
So Mitch Georgiades has had 11 scoring shots at goal, equal most for Port since 99, since the records are taken. The bloke sitting in the box next to us, Warren Treadray, had 11 shots on goal in round 8, 99. And Mitch Georgiades could have had a couple more of those marks in the second.
Yeah, well, he might equal his dad, who's got an 8 on debut. Mitch, his dad didn't have the length of career Mitch is going to have, though. Maxi gets in the hole, stands his ground as the man we're talking about, Mitch Georgiades, makes him earn it.
When you consider Lear's been out for basically the last half, it's been a mighty performance to be able to hold up in defence, Port Adelaide.
Well, the game was in the balance there for that 10-minute period at the start of last quarter, and Port Adelaide had to grind it, and getting those last couple of goals has put this gap in the game, but it's been highly competitive for a long time.
Oliver kicks it to the hot spot. 3 Ds at the front. Fell to Fritsch. Threw it on the boots. Bergman replies in kind. Gains a lot of ground. It's going to spiral out towards the boundary line, and it was a good touch by me to save it, being insufficient intent. So Ken's got something to smile about.
When he gets that little grin, you know he's happy, don't you? It's very distinctive.
Well, he'll be on holidays in a few months from now. Ken, last season as coach. Will he be employed in September? Port Adelaide have kept their options open to play in September. Oliver flicked that away. Umpire said it was okay. Georgiades thrown, jumped on, wins himself a free. Melbourne look lethargic now. They look spent. And when you know, I suppose, and they know. Rioli brought it down, didn't hold it long enough.
Oh, he's clever, this
Pepper. Rosie tried the little shake and bake.
Yeah, the soccer kick was, his brain was 3 moves ahead. He just couldn't quite get the opening. But the little paddle with the right foot almost set it up for Rioli.
So Sweet fisted out of midair. Georgiades almost there. Bowie races around him. Leaves D50. Turner, Melksham, and then Radicalier, who may have had the best game of his career, fisted out with interest. The coach loved it.
Coach made a big move at the start of this year, and that was to push Connor Rosie to the half-back line. It might have been later, about round 4 or 5, but gee, since then he has just unearthed his captain, and he has really been reborn.
Langdon to Turner, pokes it to the pockets. It's for Melksham to go and get. It was almost out of necessity. They put Rosie back.
Yeah.
They lost Houston in the off-season and then found themselves needing someone to play loose at half-back. They tried Finlayson in a trial game against St Kilda and Moorabbin. Finlayson did the job that day, but pretty much hasn't done it since. Melksham for a consolation prize. Pumps it along. Petty! Good grab.
Well, it's a great grab, and it probably just shows what Melbourne see in Harrison Petty. He did it for a period of time, but at the moment he's sort of nearly there, but not fully there.
Yeah, they won't get the big prize, Melbourne, but Petty can have a choice from the bottom shelf with that one.
Cozzy Pickett's game's an interesting one. There 14 touches and 3 goals at halftime. We did have a look at halftime. We thought he might have got a knock of some sort, but he's only had the 2 touches in the second half and no scoreboard impact. So that's a chalk and cheese type situation there.
Well, he's the polish for their midfield. They've got a lot of midfielders that are, they're just goers and physical players, but their skill level isn't top shelf. But Cozzy provides the polish, and here's Melbourne's next 3. They'll take the bye, and they've got a couple of hard ones. They're all hard.
So it was Port by 4 goals at half-time, 15 points at three-quarter time, and back to a 4-goal buffer. Gawn and Petrarca. So often if they work together, stolen by Wines, Butters, Rosie, classy little chip. Jackson. They're happy to play keepings off here. Burton, less than a minute to play. Port to progress to 6 wins and 7 losses. Chip to Wines. Well, be happy to do this all day. At times Melbourne have come hard, but Port have had the answers. Wines kicked down the line. That was a tired attempt from Windsor, and Powell Pepper had his name written all over that one as we're within 30 seconds. Powell Pepper, long kick towards the pocket. Sweet thought he marked it, umpire thought otherwise. Handball inboard. Jackson Mead throws it on the boots. Is it a last minute goal? No, it's not. So he's missed it to the left with the siren about to sound. The timekeeper's got his hands on the button. 25 points the margin. Season was on the line at Adelaide Oval, and Port Adelaide survive. A 25 points victory on their home deck. Back-to-back wins for the Power. victory. You enjoyed the first half, Jared Healy. It was dour at times. They really had to fight hard for that one.
Well, I thought it was a great game. One of the better games we've seen for a fair period of time. This was great ball movement. It was tough in the middle of the ground. There was some incredible matchups, Bucks, and we got a guy that kicked a bag of goals, which doesn't happen all that often. Mark Prosciutto.
Matty, how did that feel?
Yeah, it's pretty surreal. This has really sunk in yet, but yeah, it's unreal.
You're an air conditioning mechanic, so used to working in the heat, but it was hot in a different way out there today.
Got off the tools a couple of weeks ago, but yeah, this is a completely different lifestyle and I'm loving it.
What's it like running around with Horn, Francis, Butters and Rosie?
Yeah, big three. But yeah, the whole group's just amazing and I'm loving it.
2 wins from 2 after the bye. What did Ken say at the halfway mark? Did you change anything?
Yeah, well, I was preference to the group, but yeah, he just wanted us to be way more physical, and yeah, we brought it up the last couple of weeks, and yeah, it was good to get in on it.
Is it much different to playing SNFL?
Yeah, it's a bit louder.
All right, mate. Enjoy it. Great win today, and enjoy the win.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry.
What did Mike Knopfler say? That ain't working. Air conditioning, refrigeration. And plays in his first AFL game, and it's a big win for Matty Liddy. Nathan Buckley, what did you make of it?
Well, he looked really good. The young fella, he's 23, young man playing his first game of footy. Played 10 possessions, but I thought he just showed composure. There were a couple of times where he just took the ground ball, accepted the tackle, made smart decisions. But that's a big win for Port Adelaide in the context of the season. They've left from 5 other clubs. There's still 2 games in percentage out of the 8, but better to be going that way than the other. Back to you, Root.
Mitch, 7 goals for. That's the most shots on goal anyone in this century at Port Adelaide.
Yeah, not too bad. I'd say that. If it kicks a bit straight, it would have been even better. But, the ball was moving freely and flying really nicely, which certainly helps as a forward.
You took taken a fair few marks inside forward 50. That was a good effort.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. When you got people like Butsy, Horny, Rose, or the rest of the boys moving the ball the way that was, it certainly makes the game a lot easier and putting it into space, and all you got to do is just get there.
Ken talked about a reset at the bye. Have you made any changes? Looks like there's more kicking and less handballing.
Oh yeah, certainly. I think that obviously at the start of the year we're not obviously happy with where we were, and the bye, the refresh, there's a couple of tinkers in our game. A new contest is going to be the main basis for everything in our game, and coming up against a quality side, we're going to have to play our best, and we did pretty well tonight.
You're feeling like your best footy's in front of you for the rest of this year? Can you make a run to the finals?
Yeah, certainly. That's our goal. Obviously, coming out of the bye and now putting a couple of games together is really important, and a couple more games at home, which will certainly help.
Great win, mate. Well played.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
So a career high for Mitch Georgiades with 7 goals this afternoon. Nearest pursuer as far as goal kickers for Port was Darcy Byrne-Jones with 2. So this is how the ladder now sits, with Melbourne sitting in 15th. That's the bottom 10 at this point, and Port Adelaide's poked their way up to 10th, so still a contender.
They jumped over St Kilda, Sydney, Carlton, Essendon and Melbourne tonight with that win, so they go to 6 and 7. So, but yeah, that was a strong performance. All their best players played well.
Yep.
Looking at the stats, Georgiades had 16 kicks. No one in Melbourne had more than 16 kicks, so that's a fair effort as a full forward.
Yeah, just having a look at the kicking efficiency too, and that can positively impact you, because a kick down the line 40 metres to a contest is considered efficient. But Rosie 76, Butters is 80, Horn Francis is 55, and Ollie Wines is 71. And you compare that to the guns for Melbourne, and they're in the 20s. So it just comes down to ball movement for Melbourne. They're tough, they're resilient, they get it done, but they've got to hit targets.
And they'd be pretty keen to go on a bit of a run. Port Adelaide, those next, 3 of those next 4 are very winnable. All 4 are winnable, but Port Adelaide, when they get their game up and going, they put great pressure on. They're strong around the ball. They've got class to be able to finish. If you've got Georgiades in that sort of form, you're going to challenge any back 6. So check Alia, make sure that he's sweet and ready to go, because Radigalia and their running backs were definitely enough to damage Melbourne's chances. And Melbourne really started positively, so it was a fairly strong 4-quarter performance by Port to be able to get over the line.
There's a lot of upside for Melbourne. It's not going to be this year, obviously, but they've got a stack of young kids. They've got Max playing incredibly well, but they've got to sort out their kick the kick and maintain possession.
We're talking this.
All right, folks, there we go. That is full-time. Port Adelaide getting the job done today, 14-9-93. Defeating Melbourne, 9-14-68. Of course, same amount of scoring shots, just opposite goals to points. There we go. Port Adelaide putting on 3 goals, 1 in that final term. Just the 1 goal, 3 for Melbourne. Port Adelaide looked pretty good all day today. It was a good game, but as I said, Port Adelaide were just hitting their targets. Melbourne struggling at times to hit their targets. All right, just before we wrap this up, because we're going to head over to the West Coast and Carlton game. Let's have a look at the goal scorers and some of the stats. Mitch Georgiadis, 7 goals, 4 from 16 kicks. Absolutely fantastic effort. Darcy Byrne-Jones with 2. Rioli, Sam Powell-Pepper, Horne-Francis, Burgoyne, Bergman singles for Port Adelaide. Of course, for Melbourne, Kaiser Pickett topped their table with 3. Jacob Van Ruin with 2 with Fritsch. Daniel Turner, Harrison Pretty with singles. Top disposal getter was Connor Rose, of course, 32, the only one with the 30s. Horne-Francis, 29. Zach Butters, 26. Best for Melbourne was Clayton Oliver on 26. Max Gawn, 23. There we go. Let's just roll down a little bit. Bailey Fritsch with 20. Ended up with 2 goals, 3. Not too bad. Hit a couple of posters. Who else we got there for you? Christian Petrarca, well, he didn't really come into the game at all today. 17 touches for him. Stephen May was reasonably good, but just got beaten down back today, unfortunately. Usually he does a pretty good job there. Darcy Byrne-Jones was reasonably effective today, 13 disposals with the 2 goals. Willie Rioli, 11 for 1 goal. Manny Liddy, first game in, not too bad, 7 kicks, 3 handballs for his 10 disposals, and 1 clearance are all pretty good there. Let's have a look at the team stats. It was plus 30 overall in disposals to Port Adelaide. Inside 50s, both teams having the same amount of scoring shots of 23 I should say. 48 inside 50s for Port Adelaide. Melbourne actually had more at 54. Disposal efficiency, both teams reasonably good. They're going above season average. Free kicks, it was plus 8 to Melbourne, 13 to 21 there. The hitouts, Melbourne won that contest, 38-35. Clearances, it was all Melbourne in all aspects, 37-32, plus 5. Centre clearances, plus 2, plus 3 in stoppage clearances. So Melbourne actually did all right there. Contested possessions, well, Melbourne contested, there we go. Plus 28 in that area. Surprising because Port Adelaide were pretty good. Uncontested, controlled the ball a bit more, plus 44 to Port Adelaide. Looking at the marks with that uncontested, they certainly go plus 33 in the marks. Marks inside 50, Melbourne did reasonably well in the second half, but Port Adelaide got the chocolates there, 16 to 10. And the tackle count, both teams tackled pretty well above average, 61-60. And Melbourne actually started to put a bit of pressure on in their forward 50. 10 to 4. That's how it ended up. Let me just reload this ladder, see if it's live now. And of course, that's live ladder. Port Adelaide jump up into 10th position. They moved about 3 or 4 spots up the ladder into 10th. They're just 2 games outside of the top 8. For Melbourne, well, that's pretty much lights out for their season. 3 games plus big percentage out. I think they're really going to struggle to get even close to the finals now. But Port Adelaide, still a chance, Emmanuel. Still a chance. All right, folks. Hey, there is another great game of footy. And what a great game of footy it was. Where we saw Port Adelaide winners by 25 points over Melbourne over there at Adelaide Oval. Fantastic game. But that's all I've got. Hey, we did have the poll. 63% went for Port Adelaide. So well done there. Hot pies. I know it's good to see the pies still on top of the ladder. Amazing to see. All right, folks. Hey, that's all I got for this one. Thanks for all coming in, tuning in, listening into the coverage. But if you want to catch the next one, we'll be live in about 5 minutes' time because the next game starts in 3 minutes. Of course, it looks like a little bit wet, rainy, drizzly over there at Optus Stadium there in Perth, where West Coast Eagles are taking on Carlton. So until that game, ciao for now. Hey, we'll see you over there in a couple of minutes' time.